Let's get down to business. Give you one more night, one more. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night, one more. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business.
Happy Friday. How the devil are ya? Good morning, 6:30 a.m. here in the United Kingdom. This is the Winners Club. It's Breakfast with Winners, and today we're talking about business fundamentals. Scaling for quarter two. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it doesn't drop there. Oh, I should have known he's gone for an extended mix. Of course he has. Give it 5 minutes.
So let's get down to business.
Oh, this is good, this, isn't it? Back in your big time DJ days, you'd have played this, wouldn't you?
I probably would have played this rather than the original.
Would this have been your vibe? What did you play? Was it like funky house? You a funky house DJ?
No, it would have been this. Yeah,
would have been this. Who would, by the way, as a flash of the mics, just as a random thing?
I used to smile then.
Did you? Playing more music.
Was it
more
William
music.
Straight Faces DJ and it got stuck that way? The wind blew too hard one day.
You almost hit that sort of rich seam of DJing before it was like big though, wasn't it? Before, like, I know they were big at that point, but like now there's like stadiums and all it is a fucking guy with a couple of turntables on a stage.
Oh, you know, it wasn't like that.
Stadium DJs.
No, it wasn't like that. But I remember booking.
It didn't book some big.
Yeah, it didn't go through. We had a night in we had a night called Houseology that used to run at Turnmills. Once a month, so it was like we had a residency at Turnmills.
Yeah.
And Turnmills in London was a big club.
That's right,
back in the day, and we booked some big groove junkies and a few big American sort of acts we'd booked to come over. We inquired once. There was he passed away a couple of years ago, but a guy called Eric Murillo.
I remember.
Yeah, so we made an inquiry to book Eric to come over. And you say it wasn't big, but Jesus Christ, his demands were big.
Were they?
yeah, ridiculously.
Because these lot were like doing like multiple shows, like the
private jets and stuff. Yeah. It was big numbers.
What was the best ever? Lift that you ever got in your DJing days? You needed transport.
Anyway, so we changed. Let's change subject.
Tell the story, Paul.
No. Go back and listen on the YouTube channel.
Paul once got a lift somewhere.
Anyway, let's move on.
Paul was a big time DJ, by the way. Before he hit this level of success and knocking about with me and Shipman on a Friday morning at 6 o'clock, he actually used to be somebody. I've seen all the artwork and stuff. It was a proper night, wasn't it? You're a
I've
face.
got a book with collections of all my
Yeah.
flyers and stuff like that. Yeah.
I was quite impressed when I used to.
It's before social media though. Social media didn't
Yeah, yeah.
exist. It was all before.
When I hear him play some good music, I think, oh, here's Paul. Like, yeah, and then now I can picture him standing at the DJ decks like that with a straight face, like really enjoying it.
No, there was a few. Well, I used to drink alcohol back then, so that would have encouraged my mood a little bit.
We just need to give you a beer every morning instead now then. Good morning, everybody. This is Breakfast with Winners. If you haven't yet done so, I know the fancy voiceover lady tells you every sort of half an hour or so, but go and give a little click on the Green Monopoly house at the top of the room right now if you'd like to join. As a member of the Winners Club, we're going to be running some stuff that is only available to members. 38,900 members now of the Winners Club. Running 5 rooms every single week, 6:30 a.m. until 9 a.m, bringing you the best tactical, practical and usable content around business, wellness, mindset, marketing, branding, business scale up, business startup and everything in between. So yeah, go and click on the little Green Monopoly house. We are going to be running some private rooms. Me and Matty Wilson. Did Matty Wilson phone you yesterday?
He did phone me, yeah. He didn't talk about private rooms,
Did he
though.
Happy a private dancer.
He did. He spoke to me about booking a meeting room for what we're doing next Friday. That's what he phoned me to book, but he didn't tell me anything else.
Okay, fine. Me and Matty came up with a great idea after the Fortune Master one the other day. I'll have to run you guys through it.
Okay.
Remind me, or else I'm going to forget.
We're live on YouTube as well, everybody. Not that there's much point in watching us.
Oh my God, you can see it as well as listen to it. What?
Yeah, we're live on YouTube. You can click the link at the... Yeah, he's put it there. You can click the link at the top of the room and you can click the live YouTube button and go through and see us in the YouTube. But Ashley's wearing a tracksuit today, not a suit. So he's ready to run away.
Well, no, they told me to get ready. They
Paul
told me
just walked straight in. I won't say how he how he welcomed us this morning because it was in typical Paul fashion. And he just looked at Ashley and went, "Young offenders."
Last week it looked like you was going to court. Now it looks like you've been sentenced to a stint in the Young Offenders Institute.
Yeah, but I've got a week's holiday coming up, guys.
But you're right. You said to us last week there's no in between for you. It's either like really smart or...
It's really smart. I just average. Like, it's all... Like, I don't know.
Have you got one of them bags that you wear across you?
Used to. And
What did you used to put in that little bag?
I'm intrigued by what people got.
Well, actually, you probably don't want to know the answer to some people. I've seen some people.
Back in the day, it was just smaller bags.
And then it turned to a wash bag. Like, then you used to hold a wash bag, and then I thought, like,
That's yeah.
and then it was like,
Not like the lads at the gym would have like sliders and a wash bag.
Yeah.
Always be like a Ted Baker wash bag with nothing in it, just like one little bottle of Radox.
Well, no, the thing is, what actually happened is, I remember when I was back, they used to get set as bonuses as well, like, so you could get a Louis Vuitton one if you hit certain things and things like that. So, like, there was more like statuses of like you hit targets and things like that, like, so
you could only have a wash bag if you hit your targets.
Well, it's like you weren't allowed to, like, back in the day when you used to wear full suits and things like that, and you used to wear a hanky. It was like, if you wore a hanky, it means you settled. Like, if you wore it and walk into an office and you was just like trying to blend in and you had no figures to back it up, like the bigger boys would say, take that out.
Well, you weren't allowed to wear your hanky if you couldn't back it up.
No, if you couldn't bank. Like, it was like...
So if you couldn't close deals, you weren't allowed to have a hanky?
Yeah.
This world.
Like, it was like a status symbol of, like, I can do what I want. Like, cause you'd get the new starters coming in and seeing, like, yeah.
And does different coloured hankies represent different things?
No.
You wouldn't have a hanky for talking to a microphone, that's for sure.
You used to have a headset.
I know we say it every day. We are, and I'm sorry if we repeat ourselves, but how can you forget every day?
Do you know what it is?
Like, we're in a studio. The only thing that you need to do is
It's not
talk
like he
to the
forgets
microphone.
why he's here.
No, do you know what it is? I like to, when I talk to people, is actually like look into your eyes.
Your phone was unmuted a minute ago in Clubhouse, so we was getting... It's just...
He was doing that yesterday.
Honest,
Poor James was like summing up and he's giving like a little motivational speech right at the end, like a rallying call for being your best self. I was like, yes, James. I was like, some knob has got their phone undone. And I'm looking around going, where is that? Where? I can hear it, but I can't see it. I'm like, they're obviously in the car. And I'm like, please tell me it's not. What do? Scroll to the top, go top left, and who's unmuted? Cashley Shipman. Probably moving his car around again.
Whilst it's give Ashley a little bit of grief.
Ash bash.
5 minutes, right?
Can
I just, what I picked up on yesterday, James did dig you out on it, but not to the standard that I would have expected. So I'm going to go all full hog now.
Oh, this is great.
You said yesterday that you turn, like every day you move your car. every day without fail.
Yep.
So you
Why are we
turn
doing
up.
that with the petrol prices?
So you turn up in the morning. You park in the wrong bay because it's closer to the office,
Saves him time.
which gets you in there quickly.
Makes
Only
sense.
to then go out an hour later
Have to-
when it's a problem, when you're actually committed to doing something, to have to move the car to the correct bay.
So now it's lost him time. Okay.
But here how my morning goes. And
I'd love to know how Ashley Logic works
Right, okay,
to explain that.
Normally when I'm walking into the office, I've normally got a Costa,
Yeah.
a fag, my laptop bag, normally a pad.
All the essentials for success, effectively.
yeah, bottles of water. Like, so I've normally got my hands full.
Gotcha.
So, and the thing is, when I've turned up, no one's around. So I just think, I'll park there so I can get my stuff in. And I know I'm going to go back down in an hour. I just know, like, on a normal day, I'm just going to go back down in an hour and probably have a fag. So in that, I just go, and I just, like, stroll to my car, move it, park it where I meant to park it, and then just walk back. It's just like...
Gotcha.
But what I'm saying is, it's like balancing a coffee, water, my bag, laptop bag, my stuff in the morning.
Whose ever parking space that is that you park in must hate you. They literally must hate you. Because I know what it's like in our car park here. And if you park in the wrong bay, it's like...
Big Joe gets furious, doesn't he?
It's like you've invaded Ilford.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it's more than hate. Like...
It's a personal affront, isn't it? It's not only that you've done it, it's that you don't care that you've done it.
It's like the thing is, mate, I don't know why
That's
my
you.
phone.
That's you.
My phone's got ultra sensitive. I smashed my screen. I've got a new screen on my phone, and it seems to be ultra sensitive. Anyway, let's go into that conversation we were talking about before about Chelsea. About Chelsea.
Yeah, so I didn't realise. So I've got like some old schoolmates are in a WhatsApp group, and one of them supports Chelsea, and he's getting absolutely rinsed this morning. Oh, so you better not so good to be a blue. And I'm like, what is actually going on? And I don't follow football that closely, so I asked Captain Crypto. I was like, what is happening? Is it linked to Abramovich? And apparently Abramovich, don't call him that. Abramovich, that might be some people's opinion. Abramovich has had his assets frozen, and one of his assets is obviously a gigantic Premier League football club.
Yes, so now effectively Chelsea is government owned temporarily or in government control as part of the sanctions. So they've issued a licence to Chelsea, giving them certain conditions of what they can and can't do until the 1st of June, which is when the season officially ends. So they're allowed to, but they're not allowed to take any additional revenue or make any money between now and then. So the club shops had to shut, all the shops globally, wherever they're not allowed to sell merchandise online.
Really?
They're not allowed to sell any additional tickets that haven't already been sold. So if you're a season ticket and you've got a season, if you've bought your season ticket, you can still go to a game, but they can't sell any additional tickets to any other games. Or
So like in
matches.
Champions, if they go further in Champions League, if they haven't already sold the tickets.
and also apparently the season tickets are not included. The price of a season ticket doesn't include Champions League games for Chelsea fans, so they have to pay additional for the Champions League games. So
Which they now can't.
So they'll have no fans at sort of Champions League games. They've been given a budget that they can spend on travel, so £20,000 per match day to travel for the team and everybody else. So yeah, they're and the government have basically
Petrol
said that
prices are going up. They're not going anywhere far, are they? Do you go play Man United down, all right? Could we just do the London games?
the only way a sale is going to happen is if it's made very clear that Roman Abramovich is not going to benefit or receive any money from the benefit of that sale. So I know he came out and said, didn't he, that when he sold it, the proceeds of that would be going to a foundation,
Well, no,
blah,
they
blah,
said-
blah,
they
blah,
said-
blah. But, not to say that I don't know the guy, so I'm not saying he's not the most honest person in the world, but, we all know there's ways of creating foundations that, of masters foundations, but are not, and so you don't know. But yeah, basically the only way that a sale's going to go through is if he doesn't benefit from that.
I don't know business models behind the football, but you probably would. They say that it's only Arsenal that makes money as a business.
The problem, right? So this is the thing, and Chelsea fans are getting it all out. And do you know what? Look, I've given it to a few Chelsea fans that I know, because why would you not? But if you do,
I love that football fan mentality.
if you do a deal with the devil, at some point you got to pay the price, haven't you? And this is the thing about a lot of these. So if you look at the Premier League, and I don't know the numbers and the statistics behind this, but most football clubs in the Premier League are, I wouldn't say sustainable because they're allowed to lose money, but they are relatively stable financially.
Yeah.
Chelsea, Manchester City, and there's a few clubs around. Paris Saint-Germain do it. There's a few where they're owned. Their business model is completely flawed. So every year Roman Abramovich will sign a check and write off a considerable amount of money, which turns out to be like 1.5 billion or something ridiculous over since he's owned the club in 19 years is how much he's written off or funded in terms of debt that the club haven't earned, and he's covered the difference basically.
Right.
But there's only, you know, Manchester City do the same, Paris Saint-Germain do the same, Chelsea do the same. So and they are much further ahead in footballing terms than everybody else. But then there's their spending, the way they spend is completely, you know, not
Goes against the fundamentals.
yeah, unsustainable. And this is going to prove it, isn't it? Because the guy that's backing it, there's not many people in the world that will come in and back it like that. So the next person that comes in will probably run that club like a proper club is supposed to be run. And you can't go out and make the transfers and the signings that they've done consistently for 19 years because somebody won't be signing a check at the end of it. I don't know. There might be.
Because they're not looking to lose £1.5 billion as a tax break, effectively.
They're looking to buy that club to make money.
Make money, yeah.
Yeah, not to lose money every year. So yeah, it will a reality check, I think, is going to come for them and all these Chelsea fans that have rode along on the rave of Roman Abramovich's money for 20 years.
Because the crazy thing is, we talked about this on an episode of Understanding Crypto, iTunes top 10 investment podcast. You say, whatever, just dropping that in there. Whatever, guys, go and check it out. Still,
who got it that far up in the charts?
Must have been me doing a post on my social media.
yeah, I think everyone.
It's got to have been. It's such a rare occurrence. People would have fallen off their chair.
Odd. It was about 20. It went in at 29, then it went down a little bit. Then it jumped up to 23, went down to 24, and then all of a sudden, Captain Crypto decides he's going to not only do a post, he's going to repost stuff. Not only that, he's going to put links in.
You should have paid me for influencer marketing to do that. I should have got paid to do that post.
The thing is, where Paul doesn't actually do
it was funny, Beju sent me a message saying, when you give me some social media advice, when you next post a link, you can customise it. Cheers. Because it just...
I remember that in 2025 when I next do one.
It just showed up as tiny URL at the bottom. Thanks for that.
When
of course it did.
where Paul don't upload anything, I haven't got like the bell notification on, but it sort of lets me know that.
Yeah, it's like a big deal.
It's like when someone hasn't posted.
Last night there was a family dip happening in the pool, and I got notified as if it was like breaking news. And to me, it was breaking news.
Because the thing is, when
I was like, is that you?
When you don't post in a while, it sort of like lets your thingies like this person hasn't posted in a while and it's now posted. And I think
differing tactics. Whereas I will tell you everything that you don't care about. Paul goes the other way, and then stuff that you might care about. I only know what's going on in Paul's life because I follow his missus, and even she's now said to him, "He's like, Joe said to me I should probably be doing some more social media." I was like,
well, it's not that. But the thing is, it's like I'm in a catch-22 situation because if like Paul ups his game, like when they say like when you compare yourself to a weak link, it makes you look good. So I feel okay about my social media because Paul's around. So it's like I can't be targeted on the lack of content.
Yes, that's the only thing he can't go after us on. Like he can't.
So it's like I just know if I just do one post or two posts a week, I'm still more in front of
little boxing one occasionally, lad. Like, all right, yeah, nice. Little one of the family. Oh, he's a nice guy, ticking all the boxes. Solid, staying ahead of the game.
And then it's like,
stay ahead of the curve.
Staying ahead. That is it. It's like having Paul around makes me feel that I'm good at social media.
Yeah.
Not even good. That I'm active.
That you're not bad.
That I'm not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the word good. I would actually use that term. Not bad.
Don't get too excited. It might have been a full storm, so let's see what happens.
But we were talking about this on the podcast. Again, iTunes top 10 investment podcast in the whole of the United Kingdom right now. But
is it top? You just said it's top of all the top business, like the actual business.
The
charts.
whole business chart, yeah. It's number 38 at the moment. Sat between Goldman Sachs and Radio 4.
Not a bad place to be.
There you go.
Like the BBC, just a bit shitter.
What do you call it? Like an influence sandwich? What was that line you used when you first launched the podcast?
Yeah, the meat of an influencer sandwich. That's what we are right now. We're the meat. Paul is the corned beef
of
podcasting.
Goldman Sachs and...
But it does bring up the Roman Abramovich thing. I think it's easy, isn't it, to look at situations like that and look at people like that and go, well, he's got such wealth, it's almost not even tangible to sort of to give it context. But as someone else said, I can't remember who it was, someone on the radio the other day was saying, there's 140 average Russians who probably don't want this fight any more than anybody else on the planet, and they are going to suffer as well. But you can't fight, in any other way than sanctions, can you, frankly, at the moment? So
No, but there's like you look at
Madness.
Chelsea, it's a huge organisation. There's thousands of people work for that.
yeah,
That are all waking up worried. Now I know and I get there's a lot more worse things going on in Ukraine than there is for the people that work for Chelsea. But it just goes to show that.
Well, when we went to Tottenham that day, when we got the guided tour, what was it? Something like 8,000 staff work there on a match day.
4,000 staff per match day work
Yeah.
at the ground. Yeah.
And that swells up from what,
Well,
about
Tottenham's
300
ground's much
work-
bigger than Chelsea's.
Oh, God, here we go. It's all right, leave it. But let's say...
Actually, it's double the size if you want to know exactly.
Thanks, I didn't ask.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
But this is the problem with Chelsea as a business model. It's slightly flawed because they've got a small ground. I'm not going to go as far as saying they haven't got a big fan base because that would offend people if you're a Chelsea fan listening. But I'm just going to say it anyway. They haven't got a big fan base, but they sign great players and spend a load of money on wages.
Yeah.
Why? Because somebody's signing off a big debt at the end of the year every single year and paying the money. But that again, it will stop. It will stop. And the very important thing that they can't do as part of the sanction is sign or renew any contracts. So sign any new players or renew any contracts between now and the 1st of June, which is significant because they've got a few players, big significant players that are in that squad, that their contracts come to an end on the 1st of June.
When would they ordinarily be? Because you can't sign players outside of the transfer
No,
window,
but they'd be renewing existing people's
Are
contracts
you allowed
now.
to do that any time, are
Yeah,
you?
yeah. So they'd be signing contract extensions now for another 2 years or 3 years or whenever it will be. So those players now potentially are going to go elsewhere.
Also, for those players, they've got to be looking at, I guess, their own, in the world of how important a personal brand is these days. Like Conor McGregor last year, one of the top earning athletes in the world, he made $33 million actually fighting, and he made his other 175 or whatever it was.
What I like, what I find fascinating to see is the virtue signalling that's going on in the world of these sanctions, right? So, and the government included. For years, it's been acceptable to take that money.
Yeah.
For years and years and years. Don't see any problem with it. They knew where that money was coming from all these years ago. How can they not? I think back to a project I was involved with. It was a purchase. I said this on the podcast, didn't I? But it was a purchase of a house. And, the purchase of the house was 90 odd million pounds, right? No mortgage, one settlement financially. Someone's effectively paid cash for that house, right? A Russian client of mine. They then spent close to another 50 million in refurbishment costs.
Cash again,
So again, just no borrowing, just cash money. So they're in 150 million pounds into a project. This is one single house, by the way, on Belgrave Square, which is where all the embassies are in Mayfair. And it was just allowed to happen. Nobody questioned it. Money came in immediately. Nobody ever questioned it. And why? Because how much taxes were paid off the back of that. That transaction that happened for 90 million, there's a considerable amount of stamp duty that makes its way there, isn't there? Then the 50 million quid that went through into various companies' bank accounts for the refurbishment and the little economy that flourished off the back of that was, including my own business at the time, and then how much tax was paid off the back of that. So for years, it's been allowed to happen, and then now all of a sudden, it's a big issue and it's a big problem. And Chelsea's, how ridiculous! Their sponsor, Free, who sponsored them for however many years, has decided that because they've now been sanctioned, we should remove the logo from their shirt.
Is that what they've done?
Yeah. What? So Free didn't know. The CEO, chief executive, the person that signs off the sponsorship at Free, didn't have an inkling as to who that person was that owned that club and how it was structured and what was going on. The world knew. So how did they not know? But now, because he's been sanctioned, we'll remove the logo from the shirt. And actually, if they sell the club and get a new bar, we'll put the logo back on. I think that's just embarrassing, isn't it? As a company, for you to say that, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, they're trying to detach themselves from.
Yeah,
that's what they're trying to do. And
the same as players, they will lose good players over the summer because they won't want to be attached to.
It's a bit like
brand.
it's a bit like getting caught in a tax avoidance scheme, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't know what I was doing. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
You really did.
Yeah.
But now you've been caught, you're sorry.
That's it.
I'm sorry. It was a lapse in judgment. If you'd never been caught, you would never have realised there was a lapse in judgment.
That's it. That is it. It's a problem because it's been highlighted.
Yeah.
That's the.
You're
only
sorry
reason.
because you got caught.
Yeah, and they're trying to detach
So
themselves.
it's entertaining to watch something like that unravel, because for years they've all benefited from something that's false, really, in financial terms, isn't it? And now it's unraveling.
They reckon there's 15 billion locked from Russian billionaires at the minute in the UK system. They've locked and froze 15 billion. Like if you look at the size of the number, it's longer than a mobile number. Like what I'm saying is, it's what is the play on this? Like what?
But the spin, it's almost been that it's just like the super rich, but it's the super rich that there is a questionable doubt about the.
I think they've had to have
funds.
They've had to have some significant. If you read the wording on the website, significant evidence of a connection to the Kremlin.
Yeah.
In terms of where those funds have come from.
Yep.
So yeah, which I think is why it's because it took so long. You know, why did they not do? There was calls to do Roman Abramovich
years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then also when the first round of sanctions come out 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, there was calls to do it then, which they didn't do. So, and then this word about significant evidence came out. So they've got to have obviously significant proof. But yeah, I don't know.
No, it's just.
You just don't know where it's going to end, do you? That's the problem. But
then the thing is, it's the effect that, as you said, there's probably people in Chelsea right now. I know there's worse things going on, but there's probably people there worrying about what's going on with their job, what's going on with, like, because
I've got a guy who's the guy that I've told you about. So I know quite a few people in the energy markets that have got various companies in energy and stuff. One of which is a trader for a brokerage and predominantly gas trading. Now, you know, he I don't feel sorry for him from a financial point of view because he's okay, but he used to make, well, up until 2 weeks ago, was making significant money from trading activities. And he said since the invasion started, not a penny has been put through the market because it's so volatile in terms of trading volume. So he's got a team of 35 people sat in his desk that's sitting there 8 hours a day doing absolutely nothing. They've done nothing for 2 weeks. And he said, where does that, like, what point do you say to them, you know, this is all over, guys. Got to go and find another job. Basically, go and look for something else. So he's basically told them that to give it until April, and then see where we sit in April. Because at the moment, the market, the energy market, is so volatile. Nobody wants to trade anything. So they're not. Nothing's moving.
Because the thing is, an invasion could wipe out a market. That's the thing. Or in any, this is across the board. So like with metal, with the LME, it's like my mate's on it, and it's like Ukraine's like one of the fourth biggest producers in some of the big metals, and people are so scared of what's going to happen because like they're walking in and it's a sea of red. So when it's like a sea of red, it means the markets have all dropped. They come in the next day, it's a sea of green. Like there's financial analysts looking at it right now thinking like
you can't analyse it.
You can't analyse it, and everything you're doing is a punt at the minute. Like there is people punting out there and losing life savings, and there's people making loads of money. But it is literally you might as well go to a gambling table.
For us here in the UK, the worry is about energy is that April the next price cap is reviewed. So we your home energy commercial don't have price caps, so it's working its way into commercial. So if you have office electricity or like actual physical property, then that's commercial property. I'm seeing that real increase now in real time. But your residential properties are capped. So everybody's been moaning about how the price cap, how their energy's gone up. You know, anybody you speak to, my energy's gone up by 150 quid, my electric's gone up by 120 quid a month, or something along those lines, right? But that is still a very small percentage of the cap. So they've lifted the cap slightly. They can do it every 6 months. They've lifted it slightly, but not fully. So in April, there's going to be another adjustment because if they'd adjusted it fully 6 months ago, it would have been complete panic. So they've done it once, they're doing it again in April, and then they're doing it in October. So when the October one comes in, the price cap will be fully removed from the protection. So there's a layer of protection from what the wholesale market is charging for electric and gas and what we pay in our bills. But as of October, that protection is removed. So as of last week, electricity, of which in your energy bill at home, you probably pay 20-ish p a kilowatt, there or thereabouts. There are some stories of that being 28p a kilowatt in current. If you was unlucky enough to have to renew your energy deal now, you might get something that's high end of the 20s, but it's going to have a 20 at the start of it. Wholesale electrical prices as of last week were 55p a kilowatt.
So we haven't seen nothing yet.
You haven't seen anything yet.
And
in terms of increase. So in October, if this situation remains the same, that 100% of that price cap is removed. So that protection element's completely removed. So
And
you're
in real time right now, your bills are going to go up by what? About 20.
So already they've gone. Already based on the current prices at this moment in time, it's a £20,000 per annum increase. But I'm seeing the whole of that increase.
Yeah.
As opposed to just because commercial don't have price caps in place. It's structured and set up in a slightly different way for commercial sort of business accounts as opposed to residential. So you're seeing language. Yesterday, I started seeing on the news feeds language about how Rishi Sunak is considering borrowing billions to support the energy market and to prevent that cap from coming in, because for people that live above their means anyway, and we've seen, like I say, in one increase, one price cap removal, you've seen £120, £130 probably an average house increase per month in energy bills. What if that was £300 a month increase?
It's unaffordable for a lot of people, isn't it?
Mine's going about 120.
Without sounding doom and gloom, but you're going to see a world where you start to look at, and then you worry now about. So this is how you worry then about consumer spending, because you worry about restaurants and shops and all the other knock-on trades that are out there that people will have to make those choices and say, well, I've got to pay for electricity at home as opposed to going out or spending anywhere else.
Well, one of my routines, my self-care routines, have doubled in price per minute. Won't go down the route of what the self-care is, but
good. Maybe that'll stop you going on them, you idiot.
And I walked in there, was like, it's now X amount per minute, and I'm like, oh yeah. She's like, yeah, how our electric has just gone through the roof.
That's because they won't have a cap in place. Yeah, so they'll be paying the full volume of what that increase is.
And that's the main outflow. That's the main cost to their business.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So and that's scaring them because they're not massive money spinners anyway.
Gas used to be 6 to 9p a kilowatt, 16, 17p now kilowatt.
It's massive, isn't it?
Who was someone on the mastermind? Frankdom, is that how you say his name? Like he said, he was like, it's absolutely horrendous. Like he said, I feel like turning my pool off. Like, because it's I know it's a modern world problem, but he said, like, it's...
Did he have a pool in a gym, though? Or one in his gym?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like... but it was like, it's not... Like, there's being smart and then there's being stupid. Like, it's not being used, and I'm paying through the nose for it. Because the thing is, you got a heated pool, but on a normal day, it still costs...
Yeah. I'm making big inquiries for solar panels at home. I don't like them on the roofs. I don't think they look very nice, to be honest with you. But
I think people are gonna have a choice.
That would solve a lot of my problems. In the winter, we run the heating on the pool on gas. Not the best, but because you can't get the temperatures out of electricity, and it runs all year. And then in the summer, we have an air source heat pump, which is a bit more viable, and so the costs are not extortionate through the summer. Through the winter, they're not. It's not the best, but through the summer, it's okay. But I'm going to put solar panels on the roof at home.
It's definitely. But as with anything, I guess in life and business, where there is great challenge, there is great opportunity.
The worry is this one's not going to disappear, because the problem is that the reason the sole reason the prices are increasing in electricity is because we're reliant on Russian oil and gas.
Yeah,
and for legitimate reasons, it's been held to ransom. We've been held to ransom by that. So for us to get and turn our economy into a place where we're not reliant on Russian oil and gas, it's going to take years. It won't take, for them to build 3 new oil rigs in the North Sea, that's not going to happen overnight, is it?
No. It's but the thing is, it's forcing change. It's like it's like we was talking this morning, me and James, about the price of fuel. Like you can't even, you can.
But again, now we are all paying the price for doing deals with the devil. That's it. For years and years and years, we've been reliant on just turning a blind eye. Oh, it's okay because we get their gas. That's why he does. That's why the guy's doing most of the things he's doing, because the world relies, most of Europe relies on him to keep their houses warm. If you didn't have that, you
wouldn't have the clout.
Yeah, so he's been.
When everyone does solar, do we have to pay someone to rent the sun? Is that what's going to happen soon?
Well,
like using sun.
Elon Musk might take care of that.
That's why he's already up there trying to own it.
He already did. So I don't know the full technicalities of it, but wasn't there Elon Musk provided Wi-Fi to Ukraine a couple of weeks ago because obviously
Satellite Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
via
Yeah,
satellite.
because that's on its way. Don't worry, like all calm and that. Like,
because a lot of it was like linked up through Russia or something, was it? So they tried to shut down their communication. So he literally just stuck some satellites over the top. It was like, that's all good. Amazing. How amazing is that? Right then, guys, let's get back into the subject of the conversation that we're having this morning. We've gone off on a bit of a 37-minute tangent about, well, I guess we did touch on business, didn't we? And the crazy business model that Chelsea used to operate under and probably are not going to operate under for a lot longer. But good morning, everyone. This is Breakfast with Winners. We are talking this morning, brought to you by the Winners Club, by the way, brought to you by the gang who are the Green Monopoly House crew. So if you haven't yet clicked onto the Green Monopoly House, go and do so and become one of the 38,000 members of the community. And moving forward, there are going to be some community-only led rooms and there's going to be some community-only led content. So go and check it out.
Do you think this will, sorry, just very quickly, do you think this will, this situation will have us all questioning who our clients are and where we accept money from? Because I get 60% of my old clients were Russian. You know, I know, so for me, that was £20 million a year worth of revenue from Russian clients.
Yeah.
And some of which are on that sanctions list, by the way. So 2 of them on the sanction list I know pretty well.
Oh, really?
Or did back then, 5-6 years ago. So, but again, I never questioned it. You knew they were, you know, you could just tell by being in meetings that they were not like people you wanted to question the wrong way.
Yeah.
But you never questioned it. You just, you accepted the money, you paid your staff. You never, ever came on to, never was a question you even thought about, should I be accepting the money? But
No.
does this situation now make you think, okay, who are the clients?
Well, I guess it should, shouldn't it? It definitely should.
Are we that morally strong?
But that is the question, isn't it? Because we are in the here and now, because it's been, the awareness of it is heightened and our senses are elevated towards it. But, are we fundamentally? Who knows? Only time will tell, I guess.
should we chuck it out to the audience, see what their views are?
Let's not talk about that particular subject. Let's because far be it from us to try and handle this conversation about this particular subject. I think let's keep it business related this morning, because there's been lots of other rooms that are having this debate and this conversation. I've heard some fairly horrific conversations where people frankly don't have enough of an understanding of it to have a valuable opinion, and it just ends up being a shouting contest of who can shout the loudest, the longest, frankly, and I ain't playing that game. But we will chuck it out to you guys this morning. We are talking this morning. So off the back of the Fortitude Mastermind this week is really, really interesting, because we had a room full of fantastic business owners, and these were people that have a variety of places within their business. One of them, and obviously it's all private and confidential, the stuff that gets shared, but he's like an absolute don of his space. That Frank, if sort of influencer fitness was a sport, he's basically won it. He's killed it. He's killed it.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting, because even doesn't matter where you get to in your business, there's always that next level of challenge. And he sort of built a business around him as the brand. So he's now got to go on this like rebrand kind of journey, which is really interesting to
the level
watch.
his business is at, you think everyone, like when he's turning around and saying where it is, stats and things like that, you'd think that like when you hearing that, you'd assume that he's got everything in order.
Yeah.
But it just shows new levels, new devils.
Yeah, 100%.
And if there was a trophy, he's won it. And he was such a lovely fella as well.
Yeah.
A lovely fella.
Gentle giant in every sense of the word. But one of the things that definitely came out from it was that it doesn't matter, as you say, where you're at in business, there are fundamental principles that you have to do to make a business work. It's just that simple. And it don't matter how far down the line you get, it's easy to forget the fundamental principles, I would say. And that's, I think, half the value of the mastermind is being nudged and reminded of the simple stuff that you need to do. So today we'd love to chuck out to you guys the fundamentals. If you've got any questions around the fundamentals of business that you need to scale for Q2 for this year, if you've got any business queries that you, in terms of like scaling up, I keep hearing as well, by the way, the difference between scaling up and growing. Growing and scaling in business is two separate things. I never heard anyone say it before you. I thought you would come up with it. I was like, I think you're a genius, but I think you've stolen it now.
Well, who else had told you it?
Oh, loads of people.
They must have been copying me. They must have been copying me.
Because you got social media reach. There's no way they can avoid it.
They need to start saying the quote of Sir Crumble.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's, but no, it's.
They need to credit it.
But do you know what? It's like actually being when Paul says it, I realised that I was very good at growing, not scaling.
Yeah.
That's what highlighted to me, because it's like I can go as wide as possible.
Yeah.
It's about going higher, like going taller. Like the thing is, it's because I had a good conversation last night. It's like one of my friends had his business valued, and he assumed that wow, that's the value of my business. And it was like, okay, what about if your 4 top billers went out for a night out, something happened, and they didn't come back to work? You have no business. Because your business is solely reliant on the individual. Those people, and he didn't have the systems and the procedures to
replicate the results.
To replicate results. And it was a big reality check, oh, wow. That's so and he was looking for investment as well to get to the next level, and it was like, and he was like, yeah, no, your business is not investable either, because it's reliant
on those people.
And I invest, or someone looks to buy this business.
In the aviation world, there's a thing called single point of failure. So when you fly, so any system that's on an aeroplane or anything that exists in the aviation world, there's more than one. There's never a single point of failure. So something can break and something else will function in its place. Yes, okay, there's not often beyond a second point of failure, but there's always a backup for something. So you've got, when somebody's coming to invest in a business, or if you're appraising a business to buy it or look at it, you're always looking for that single point of failure, because that's where the risk is. So if somebody's built their network off of the back of a social media platform, or if somebody's data is stored in one place and not backed up somewhere else, or there's always these single points of failures that you would look at to pick up on.
Yeah.
So, and that's when you're thinking about growing and scaling, like you say with staff, you never want that one single point of failure where somebody holds all the keys to the kingdom, and if they don't turn up tomorrow, what happens?
Yeah. And it was quite
I've got it a bit here. So my building manager here, he's my father-in-law, so I've got a bit more trust in him than I have anybody else, potentially.
Bit more.
Never fully.
He's all heart.
Never fully. Everybody's going to stab you in the back one day. It's just a matter of how long it takes. Okay, remember that. But but he knows all of the information, and probably a bit too much more information. But the last few months I've been trying to encourage him, which is a bit like trying to get blood out of a stone, to write it down and take the information, because I'm very aware he's 62 years old. So he's not, in 5 years' time, he's probably not going to want to come to work. So that information has to be extracted from his head. But that highlighted to me, I should have built that. His job should have been set up and structured in a different way, so I never got into this position in the first place. Because some of the information he knows about the tenants, I don't even know.
Yeah, and there should be a handbook, a workbook, a log.
Yeah, it should be doc. And so because I am systems driven, the technology is in place for him to record all of that information and for him to store that and put the stuff there and record it all. The issue is operator error in recording it. So he won't record it.
Yeah.
It's just not in his radar to do it.
Yeah.
And because he's my father-in-law, I can't really beat him over the head with a stick to make him do it. I've got to be, because I have to see him next week for dinner. Yeah. So not in a work context. So I've just got to be a little bit more diplomatic about how we, but that will probably end up with me having to employ somebody else to sit in his room with him and start to extract the information out. Yeah. And so then when the next role, when his replacement comes in place, everything's documented for him.
Yeah, we've had to do that with admin, because the thing is, what happens is you sort of take away, and it becomes second knowledge to him, but not second knowledge to a new recruit, and that's where it becomes dangerous. And the thing is, it's like you probably will need someone to come and extract it from him, because what he will think is second nature and not a step that needs to
Yeah.
be done because it's so second nature to him.
Yeah.
That it's like when you're writing out, you need to explain to like an alien.
Almost anything though can be extracted, can't it, and put onto a piece of paper. I remember when I took on the first, I think my first audio engineer. I don't know whether it's ego or what, but I was like, no one could do this as well as me. And then I listened to some other people. And I'm like, oh, actually, they're better at doing this than I am. But you have to spend the time and invest the time in getting it out of your head and into a process, don't you? And like I say, knowing that if you have got that single point of failure, or if, for example, that's a great example. If Joe's not going to sit there and write down all of the relationships and all of the sort of the back and forth in a CRM system that he's had with each customer and client, then you need to potentially employ someone who's going to do that bit for him. And you can either fight against what someone's not going to do, or you can make them do the thing that you need them to do fundamentally. Right, let's get it into get you guys into the conversation this morning, because I'm aware that we've been waffling for like 50 odd minutes now. Where does the time go on a Friday? Does time just evaporate here?
To the pub.
To the pub, okay. Yeah, sometimes to the pub. Fair point. Right, let's get you guys involved in the conversation. If you've got a question, or if you've got a business fundamental you think is key for businesses to understand in order to scale or to grow, because growing and scaling are two separate things, are different, then feel free to give us a flash of the mic and we'll bring you guys into the conversation this morning. Let's go for, we're going to go for Amy, and then we're going to go for Mary, and then we'll go Toby. So Amy, Mary, Toby. Go for it, Amy.
Good morning. How are you?
We're
I hope
very well,
everyone's doing
thank
great.
you.
I've actually really enjoyed this conversation. I was really steadily studying the whole Chelsea drama. That's a very interesting one. I used to live in London myself, so I'm really following that, almost like a soap opera. I'm following that one. I feel like it is a bit of a male soap opera. Anyways, I think one of the things that's really fascinating that, Paul, you were saying, and I think Ashley was chiming in and kind of observing, I do business process engineering when I work on global implementations for SAP. And I think something that I find really powerful to understand and articulate across, which I think you both said at a very high level, which is understanding your business processes of your business, like how the inputs and outputs, how does your business operate? That is like literally, I think, the biggest challenge for so many organizations, and not just the SMEs and the SMBs. It's also at the enterprise level. The biggest challenge is someone's going to retire. How are we going to get the information out of them, and the nuances that make their job efficient and quick without having to make them feel like we're going to throw them out on their butt and like slam the door after them, but also recognize that there is a change process in there. There's a change in comms process, because like your father-in-law is a great example. He wants to feel need and wanted, and he's appreciated at that age. But of course, he's going to want to retire soon, and he'll probably start to his memory and stuff will start to denigrate. And it's not an insult, it's just a reality of life, right? The challenge here is, how do you get all that information out before that happens? And getting that information out is the holy grail, because he does specific things that make his job more efficient, that save you time, money, and energy. Now, if the key in perfect world would be able to get it out of them, that it saves time, money, and energy for the other person. The challenge here is you have a bunch of moving parts, which means people are different. People nowadays in our society want different things. There is a generational difference on how people worked 20 years ago versus how they work now. There's a process difference of how the process was done in the past and how it's been fine-tuned to be more effective now, and how will it look in the future. And the sanctions that you so eloquently spoke about, I think many people need to start, coming to Jesus, standing in front of the mirror, and understanding how they're going to scale Q2, especially if there is any of this that intertwines with their business at some place in the process. Notice how I said some place in the process, because it doesn't have to be at the beginning or at the end, but it could be in the middle, and that could be very interesting. For example, production of manufacturing of clothing. Kazakhstan, Adidas, they have relationships with Kazakhstan, which is on the border of Russia. So, I mean, there's going to be very, very interesting process adjustments that have to be made. And I think the people that are really going to be nailing it, quite frankly, this is what I've been doing for 20 years, is process engineering and for enterprise relationship software. So when we start looking at the processes of running a business, we have to understand the accounting principles, we have to understand the marketing principles, the strategic principles, and recognizing that they're shareholders and their board members, and all of these elements are going to be interconnected in the decisions that are made. And this is why it's so complicated. They bring consultants on to do this, because you're right, Paul and Ashley, it's going to be very interesting for small businesses to wrap themselves around this, because the talent that's available to them may not be the same talent that's available to someone like SAP H&M or Unico, for example. So we really have to think forward thinking, at least, and I worked in fashion in my first half of my career, you have to understand how to forecast forward at least 2 years, at least 2 years. And forecasting is a skill that's developed over time. And it's not just forecasting a business, it's forecasting the numbers, it's forecasting a lot of the data. And I just wanted to kind of sum it up there that data is king. You understand your depth of business processes. My dog agrees. And from there, you could at least extrapolate who and what are going to be the individuals and the personality and culture of the individual you want to come into your organization. And I hope that added value. I'm going to mute myself because a dog wants to talk and I don't want him talking. And I'm going to get going.
Awesome stuff. Thank you. Great share, Amy. It's a shame your dog is so anti-processes and systems.
Yeah, he actually is. He's a bit of he's like a rebel chihuahua that thinks he's so,
Rebel Chihuahua. That's what we call. That's like Ashley. He's our Rebel Chihuahua.
Do you know we've
Jack Russell.
I think overnight the gap has. So there was. How do I delicately say this? There were certain people.
Do you know the process that he goes through when he does that? So he looks. So Paul looks up and left. And in terms of, like, that's called an eye-accessing cue. So he's actually trying to visualize the way that he can say it nicely. And you can see it in his face. His face then drops and then he goes, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it.
There were people on this. There was the people we've met on this platform that would say stuff to us back in the day, like, I can't be on the stage if that person's on the stage, or I can't. And taking that to the next level in their organisations, because they worked for huge organisations, their organisations would say, we can't be on the stage if this doesn't happen, or we can't be in that room talking about that subject because it doesn't agree with our corporate policy, and et cetera, et cetera. And we always viewed them as, well, it's all right for them because they work for a big corporate. And it's not practically reasonable for us to do that at the level that we're at, or, we haven't got the ability to pick and choose. We just need to be everywhere or be involved in everything. We'd have conversations like that, wouldn't you? I think this has closed that gap. So now all of a sudden, where most of us, and I say this politely, again, I'm trying to pick my language nicely, most of us would go, oh, well, it's okay for them to do that because they've got the luxury of big corporate organisation or lots of revenue to be able to make that decision and make the choice not to do that. I don't think it's going to be. I think we've reached a point where it's not everybody. All of us are going to have to be making those decisions, and individually accountable. Yeah, as opposed to being naive.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to on this platform in the early days, there were some people didn't like, or and we knew what those other people were up to. We wasn't naive. We knew what was going on in the background, but you chose to not allow it, but
turn a blind eye.
Oh yeah, it's okay that we could
turn a blind eye.
Yes,
day is done, isn't it?
Yeah. You can't. No longer can you do that. You no longer can go. Well, actually, it doesn't affect me. I don't think it affects me. I'm going to turn a blind eye. That can't happen.
Paul, I think that's actually it right there. You can't turn a blind eye anymore, but this is also where Web3 and the new decentralized environment may support, right? When you start looking at decentralized ledger technology, it has to do with data distributed across a number of nodes. That's it, which makes it very, in some ways, fair and equitable to make those decisions from a process perspective, because no one's holding the gate key. And then also no one could put a personal spin on it, which you just described. When someone doesn't like someone, they put a personal spin on it and could affect the business decision, but it doesn't mean that person can't do the job. It just means that there's a personal judgment there. And that's why I really believe when I engage in these projects, and actually I'm super excited because I am actually heading out tomorrow to the Emirates. I'll be speaking on a panel of women in Web3 at the WOW Summit, which I'm super excited about. And part of what we're discussions that I will probably bring up will be how to navigate being transparent and also recognizing to have respect and decency. Just because you don't like someone doesn't mean you have to badmouth them or speak poorly of them. It's not your place to do it. You don't know their background. You don't know their expertise. And I think this is important because in the cancel culture that we've stepped into, it seems like everyone could do it. And now you have people that are scared to even bring someone who could be super talented on board because they're afraid of the ramifications if they bring them on board. This is where, unfortunately, humans have that human condition that will not allow, there's a judgment there that doesn't allow them to work with someone that they might not like, right, per se, or they might not hang out with them having a beer at the pub. But that doesn't mean that person doesn't have a talent and a skill. So it's really about mitigating it and being mature professionals to understand that person A has a talent. I may not like them in a personal setting, but that's okay. I could have respect and honor the skills that they do have and fine tune the relationship to work with just that. It's a very telling experience. And the person who did this most eloquently was Barack Obama, because he had put someone into his cabinet that no one could believe he chose. And it was someone that he did not, it came from a previous, I believe it came from another party, I think it was a Republican Party, and he hired him. And people were like, why did you bring him in? Why did you bring him in? But the key is if someone has a talent and a skill, you can't separate the two. You have to be able to have eloquence and decorum and diplomacy and be like, okay, this is a situation and this is how we can mitigate it. But if we have too much cancel culture and too many people that with their ego that assume that everyone's going to be the same way, we're going to pretty much send our work to AI faster than we could say yes.
Very good point. Very good point. I like Amy. You always know you're going to get a good solid 5 minutes of wisdom with Amy, aren't you?
It's the yoga teacher as well. It just comes out as well.
Gotcha. Very calm zen. Well, on the basis of, individual accountability of not being around dodgy people, Ashley Shipman, I have to ask you to ask Paul to leave.
So it's always one you least expect.
Slight issue. We're sat in Paul's building, so I'm turning a blind eye to the abhorrent human being that he is for the basis of I'm sticking around for a chicken sheesh later.
But it's good conversation. Anyone else want to?
Who did we hang on? I wrote it down because I had me a little list. Mary and then Toby. Mary, coming to you.
Thank you so much, guys. Great topic. Love the discussion so far. And I like how you've brought in that idea of ethics because it's very important. Ethics is so important, and not turning the blind eye and just, if you can, just do what's right. Yeah, you were mentioning earlier about scaling. And so I had some questions to the minds on stage. When I was just reviewing what exactly scaling means, because I studied economics, I just presumed it was talking about economies of scale, where you buy in bulk or whatever it may be, and as a result, you're able to lower costs. And which maybe it did come from that word, economies of scale. I don't know. But what it's saying it actually means, and the difference between growth, which growth is where if you're growing your business, there is going to be a sort of costs that will increase. Whereas if you're scaling your business, you achieve the growth by increasing revenue without incurring significant costs. So I was trying to think about the business that I run, a not-for-profit business. And the reason why I say is a not-for-profit business, because not-for-profit have to be run like businesses or they don't survive. And ours has survived for some time. And we want to be able to serve more clients. We want to be able to house more people who are in a crisis situation. And so therefore we have to increase our income because that's how we're able to serve more people. So I just wanted to put it out there to see if anyone had ideas. How do you increase revenue without incurring significant costs? We are a shelter for individuals in a crisis situation. We have lots of outreach clients who are men, women, and children. And in our actual facility, we house women. And we want to scale. We want to increase our income. We're working on increasing our income. How can those business principles be applied? Now, some of the thoughts I was having, and I just wanted to get some ideas, is the use of technology. Yes, if technology is used to increase our income, then it might not have significant costs. The other thing that I was looking at was funnels. We don't have sales funnels because we're not actually selling a product. We were selling the ability for people to give to a good cause, and automation. But I was wondering if anyone had some practical examples or ideas of how we could scale. And I'll leave it there.
Captain Crypto, I'm going to hand you the microphone for the next 10 minutes. Go and get a coffee. You crack on. This is why you're here.
Do you want the honest answer? And you won't like it. Is there's not all industries and businesses are scalable, are they? That's like, if every single business or industry or sector or market was scalable, you wouldn't have great success stories and then businesses that fail. So not all business, and I'm not saying yours isn't, Mari, by the way, but not all sectors are scalable. For instance, businesses that rely too much, and we were saying this, single point of failure, businesses that rely solely on the founder to process information, make decisions, and what that creates is a bottleneck. So that usually means that business is not scalable. You can grow that business, but then what happens is the growth of that business causes headaches to the person that's the bottleneck. So it will be nothing but problems all of the time, stress, overwhelm, all of the fatigue, all of the sayings that come up so often in this type of clubhouse room. That's because people grow their business, they don't scale it. So there are, where my business where we're sat in now, I say it quite a few times, it's a workspace company. We've got over 100,000 square foot of commercial property, 63 individual tenants. That's not a scalable business. If I was to in order to make that scalable, we'd have to go through significant period of growth that would not make that. It's not a journey I would want to go down. We'd have to buy or acquire more buildings. We'd then have to refurbish and project manage and go through the period of who's that? We'd have to go through the period of refurbishing those buildings. We'd then have to go through a process of finding tenants. It's not an easily scalable business. It would be a growing business, i.e. it would cause me lots of pain and headache and significant cost to be able to triple turnover or double turnover or grow significantly. So there are some sectors and industries that you just can't scale. In your case, in order for you to house more people, you would need more centres, wouldn't you? You would need more property. So, it's not like you can just turn on a marketing process. And you mentioned funnel, but all a funnel is a marketing process. It's been coined as funnels in this digital marketing world, but most big industries or big companies would have a marketing process. That's all it is. It doesn't have to be a collection of landing pages and a clever automation or CRM systems working in the background. It can be whatever your marketing process is. But in order for you to grow and scale, you would have to have more accommodation, I'm guessing. So the question the way I'd process that is say, could you partner with others who have similar centres, and could you be a hub for placing people into other centres that you partner with or other crisis centres that you partner with? But I'm guessing in that space there is a shortage of crisis centres, full stop, which is why you're looking to grow and scale. Is that right, Maori? Am I guessing?
Yes, that is correct. And I like the way how you're looking at the business model. And immediately I was thinking, please carry on talking because I'm getting a lot of value out of this. Immediately I was thinking about when you're talking about a hub, we have a crisis line and we are able to service a lot of people. And I'm just my brain's working to see how we could expand it. We've been talking about expanding it. But anyway, carry on. Please.
Yeah. So how I would look at I would say, okay, what are the metrics for scale? Okay. So if you define a result as putting somebody into a room in accommodation, then obviously that, and you're judging your ability to scale on how many placements you can make or how many rooms you could have, then obviously that's a hard one for you to do because you have to find more rooms and more accommodation. Physically you have to do that. So that's quite a big problem to overcome. If you're judging your scale on impact and reach, and you're saying how many, are we providing, are we, by supporting somebody, is a telephone system or a telephone support line, is scaling that still giving us the impact and reach that we wanted, and therefore is that a success? So I think first of all, you need to work out what, for your organisation, what would define success in terms of scale, and then work out the way in which you can do that without increasing your cost base hugely. To me, finding accommodation has huge costs, especially if you have to own that accommodation, as opposed to partnering with others who have accommodation, or like you said, developing other ways in which you can help people. Could you develop a mobile app? Could you develop a membership area? Could you do outreach more, like you said, in terms of telephone systems? There's ways in which you can still achieve success which would equal your scale by reaching impact and not having a huge cost to do it.
Paul, that was a masterclass. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I've got a lot to think about, and I was taking copious notes, so thank you so much.
No problems.
I just walked in just at the end of that conversation. I timed it perfectly, didn't it? Quick wee and 3 coffees, and you get through Paul's content.
See, my problem is I'm sitting here trying to work out how do I get rid of the 2 bottlenecks that are in front of me.
He sends us 9-minute voice notes. So if I offend them enough, they'll. When you don't want to break up with a girlfriend, so you make them break up with you. That's what Paul tried to do with us.
No. But when you listen and you think, it's deflection. We are the ones that help you out, Paul. If it weren't for me and James,
if it wasn't for us, you'd still be quite happily at home. You probably would have just been waking up, taking the kids to school.
The thing is, as you said, you never not in a bad way. Like, we made you get up at 6:30. Like you were semi-retired. You probably just got up in your dressing gown after your.
He'd have gone outside today, wouldn't he? He'd been like, "Shove another milky coffee."
What did you do?
I might have been sitting outside doing yoga.
You
bollocks. Some other form of mindfulness practice, I'm sure. Yeah. Of course you would.
Wim Hof?
Do you know, I tried meditating once. I downloaded Headspace, the app.
Bet that went well.
Let's hear.
No, I tried it. I did try it.
That's the problem, though, that you tried. You shouldn't. If you try, you instantly fail with meditation.
Did you review the app?
No, I felt like a complete spanner, if I'm being honest, when I was doing it. But I was doing it while all the kids were asleep upstairs. But I in terms of this is tangent, but active meditation for me works. Doing something that takes my brain away from anything else. That's the bit that does it for me.
Well, the thing is, like I tried meditation. I literally cannot. I cannot relax for that long. So
meditation is for everybody, apart from you, Ashley Shipman. I would say I would rather try and make Vladimir Putin a morally nice person than try and make you meditate. I think that would be an easier challenge to overcome.
But in the way of me meditating is walking and
boxing.
Yeah,
exercise.
Because what I've realised.
Sunbeds.
Yeah, sunbeds, massages, because that's all I'm thinking about when I'm. But the thing is, in boxing, what I've realised, the reason I class it as a form of meditation, because all I'm worried about is not being hit. I'm not worrying about what needs to be done tomorrow. What's this? What's going on next week? It takes me present. It makes me present, and and then I come out like alive.
But do you know what? Sometimes you got to be able just to live with your demons. Like I cannot switch off. There's only one thing that causes me to switch off, and that's extreme concentration. Having to concentrate so much on a task that all my brain power is being used for that. Right?
Which is why you like flying.
Flying, yeah, because
you can't.
I can't. I'm just focused on what's going on. But there is no other situation in this world that causes me to do that. No. So
I can't afford that
I found. So I'm okay with, and I don't beat myself up about it. I'm spending time with family time, and I'm still thinking about stuff to do with work. I'm still working about what's next or what's doing. I'll control myself. I won't be on my phone, or I won't have a laptop out in front of me, or I won't be. But it's still being processed. It's still going on like that.
Do you get that when we get caught out, where people are having a conversation around you, and then they come to you for some feedback, but you haven't been listening? I had it yesterday. Hayley came home and I was thinking about a work challenge, and all she wanted to talk and think about was this new green rug that she's bought for the house. And she went, "What do you think?" And I was like,
"It's like AstroTurf."
She's like, "No, but do you? Which part of what I just said do you think?" And I was like, yes. And I was like, hang on, what was she? I had to reverse engineer quickly. I was like, what was she talking about? She was talking about where to put it. I was like, no, it should go there. She said, no, we talked about that 10 minutes ago. I was like, I got clocked. I got well clocked.
So the answer to your question is 3 years ago. I was trying to find ways of extracting those demons and getting them out the way, and trying to force myself to sit and switch off and zen out and not be thinking like that, right? And to clear my headspace. But actually, it's a bit of a superpower of mine, so I'm happy to have it and cultivate it and just control it, like keep the demon in the box a little bit and not let it bother me.
But is this the reason why when I messaged you probably on New Year's Day, Sunday morning, like, because I don't switch off, like.
No, the bit I force myself to do is when I walk in the house. So I've got like a where my son gets the keys from, which I've told you all about. The
you
unit.
need to move that.
Where the thief operates
Yeah.
out of.
So like when it's a cupboard, and the kids put their football, their school bags and their shoes and stuff like that all in it. But I'll put my phone in there when I walk in the house
And just leave it there.
and just leave it there until when kids have got when I've said to myself, right, okay, I've almost that value ladder of, okay, I've given enough value there now. I've got enough credit in the bank to go and get my phone.
Yeah.
When I feel like that moral compass has tipped, then I'll go and get my then I'll go and get it back out. And then I'll be doing what I'm doing. So that's how I control it. Whereas probably 3 years ago, I would have been sitting with the phone while sitting in the room with the kids.
I've seen Paul in active meditation mode. I've actually witnessed it.
Active meditation.
Active meditation
Well, the thing
mode.
is, I still
He
have
got
my
a
phone.
soldering iron. One day he walked in and he had a soldering. He's got a gigantic toolbox. Not a euphemism. It's just actually a box full of toys. Box full of tools rather. Freudian slip.
I wondered what you was going to say there.
And he had this soldering iron. I'm like, I've not seen a soldering iron since 1993. Like, what the hell is he going to do with the soldering iron? Anyway, when we were having the debacle with the cables and they wouldn't work, Paul's like, well, if I've just cut a load of cables apart, I'm just going to solder it all together. And you should have seen his happy little face. He was sat next door. He was there for ages. And he was just like, he just looked that, like Zen contentment. If you look at a photo of like Mother Teresa and you're like, that is just a human being who is in their essence right there. He's like that with the
I think
soldering
when we
iron.
was at EMC and before I started trying to give some advice on setting up, and you warned me about 5 times, stop trying to help. I was watching him put things together, but it was just like da-da-da, like it was like he was in the zone, and then
Stand back.
stand back.
Allow brilliance to flourish.
I thought he was joking at first, and then like you just were shaking your head, like.
Never joking. Right, Toby. Let's go to Toby next if he's still there. Toby, are you there? He is.
Yeah, I'm here. So in the week we said I should look for going after my personal brand and not being a wimp and hiding behind the company.
I saw you done a video as well, Toby.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, they're all at it now, aren't they?
Yeah, so that's the thing. How many pieces is acceptable to put out there, and should I go slowly catch a monkey rather than going over all platforms? I think most people know I'd hate the video content. I don't like doing it, but I've got to do it. So how many pieces, and just focus on Insta or one of the other platforms or all of them?
Oh, okay. So this is the great debate, and there's social media people who will charge you an arm and a leg for their advice, and they'll tell you the algorithm does this and the algorithm does that. I've got a different opinion on this. I just put everything everywhere all the time. But apparently the algorithm, to keep up with the sort of the Instagram algorithm, you need to post at least 3 pieces of content per day. But I actually think that I don't think Insta's the place for you, full stop. Anyway, I think you should be playing with LinkedIn. And I think it should be not just sort of the sub 60-second videos it's in that are really popular at the moment. It's not the sort of the music when just people are just like pointing at a thing. Reasons to be dancing on a video. Ding, ding, ding. I don't think that's going to add much value. I think you need to show behind the scenes of what it is that you actually do. I mentioned to you the other day on the round table at Fortitude, one of the things that I do with the sort of the CEOs that I've worked with through sort of with their brand is what I call pillar content. So I'd make one main piece of content, because if you're somebody who doesn't like doing content really, number one, you're going to just have to find a way to get to like it. And you obviously are a guy who's going to do what you need to do in spite of what you want to do, if that makes sense. But something like, for example, one well-written blog per week would be really useful for your LinkedIn. But then off the back of that well-written blog, you could then create a video, which you could sort of sum up what you've said in the blog in video format. Some people like to write, some people like to watch video, or some people like to read, some people like to watch video. You can then also, from that piece of content, from that blog, there will be likely at least one or two really good sort of killer quotes that you could then extract from that and turn that into a little graphic. So then all of a sudden, then you could potentially run like a property specialist clubhouse room, for example, on that subject as well. So effectively, from your one piece of content, your one main piece of pillar content, you can then make all of your marketing assets for the rest of that week. And obviously, you can do it in advance. You could, shoot 5 or 10 videos and then sort of make other content around those videos. So you're not having to do it on a daily basis, because that's what I also find for people who don't quote unquote like doing content. To start with, the idea that you've got to wake up and think of something creative or think of a funny video or think of something to post every day just pisses people off and just gives you cognitive stress that you don't need. So preemptively working that stuff out in advance. It doesn't have to be complicated. As I say, do one blog, one video, one graphic. That would be infinitely more than you've done at the moment so far. But also, and this is the key to this, whether you like it or not, in 2022, you've now got 2 jobs. You've got the job that you actually do. There's the thing that you do. You are the doer of the stuff. And then you've also got a second job, which you didn't apply for and you didn't really want, frankly, but unfortunately you've got given the job anyway, and that is to be your own PR person. Having a chat with you, Fortitude, Toby, for example, about the stuff that you're doing and where your business is at, and, the stuff. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy's doing stuff. Like, but from the outside looking in, I wouldn't necessarily know that. And unfortunately, apart from when it comes to paying the bills, perception is reality. So you need to, there's people who will, I think I said this to you at the time, there's people who will infinitely tell a better message than you that are doing 1% of the stuff that you're doing in business. So it's your job to, not to make yourself like it, but to make yourself do it for sure. But that's what I'd be doing. And again, I wouldn't be, so a minimum, I would say a blog, video and graphic per week. Start off that as a minimum, 3 pieces, and get it so that it would work for Instagram for sure. But I think the bigger playground for you is LinkedIn. And also the beauty with LinkedIn is that you can organically reach more people, because not only is it, let's say, for example, you're connected to 1,000 people, not only will 1,000 people potentially see it, but also the connections of those 1,000 people will potentially see it. Now, I'm not talking about, Brendan Burchard's concept behind the circular virality or whatever he talks about, but just, I think, play in the place where the right attention and focus is. Like, really, what attention do you want? It's more, I would say, a LinkedIn community that's going to add more value to you right now. So that'd be my take on it anyway.
That was a sigh of relief when you didn't say Insta and you didn't say TikTok. So LinkedIn it is. Thank you, mate.
I think get clear in your head, because I've been on that journey, Toby. I've still not cracked it, but I came from a place where I didn't need to use social media, had no professional footprint on social media networks, because I didn't need it. Like, just my clients were from outside of social media. It was business to business transactions, and I just didn't need to use or do social media. I'm still not doing it now. But I got very confused by trying to talk to everybody and not being very clear about why I was doing what I was doing, or even if I needed to do it in the first place. So I think for you might have already done this, but get very clear on who you're speaking to and who you want to speak to. Why are you doing social media? Who do you want to attract? Because people say, oh, well, I want to build a personal brand, but what's that personal brand for? What do you want to go and do with that personal brand? Do you want to, is it inevitably all you want to do is generate more business and leads for your property business? If that's the case, then the content is going to has to be geared and everything needs to be set up in that way where everything's pointing back to your business and the people can find you. Because that's the other thing a lot of people do when they build personal brands, is they just put content out there without any system or way of capturing the data or way of driving people to that business. And sometimes, like I noticed on your profile, a Linktree page or I think you use Flow Pages, don't you, or something like that. They're good, but people, I know we know this from what we see with doing it in the Winners Club and doing other things. Not everybody clicks on all of those links. Usually people click on the first link that's at the top or one link. So if you've got a specific reason why you're doing something, just work out who you're speaking to and how you're going to get those leads or get them to get the one piece of information that you want. If it's getting if you're driving leads to your lettings business, for instance, then you should have I would be definitely having a PDF document, because at the moment you click on your Flow page, people are going straight to your website. Well, you don't know who that person is that's clicking on that, or once they've clicked on it and gone, they're gone forever. So, okay, you could retarget them with an ad campaign But for you, it would be, a PDF guide or a lead magnet or some, an information guide or a booklet or something. Give people something on that page that you can start to capture their data and then start to do outreach with them. Otherwise, all of the social media you do is just going to be a waste of time because you're not going to benefit from the back end revenue that comes from that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm with that.
Very good point. I didn't even realise, and this is sort of case in point of being able to communicate the message that you want to and know who you're speaking to. I didn't realise that you do service accommodation management as well. I thought it was just straight letting. So I think, as Paul mentioned, I think get really clear on. There's a whole branding process that I would walk someone like you through, which would be based on core values, USPs, mission statement, value proposition. So there's someone else at the mastermind who asked for that. So I'm actually going to put that into the WhatsApp group today, the Fortitude Only Mastermind group, WhatsApp group, sorry. But I think that would be a really, really useful exercise for you to go through, because you're also at a point in your business where there is going to be that shift. And here's the thing, right? And exactly, again, to back up Paul's point even further, if I go onto your page and then I click onto the link and I go onto the link tree, I've already had to be bounced to a couple of places, but then you'll show me your business brand, but potentially where you're at in the business, it's quite, it's a substantial business. You might want to be looking at other stuff and investing in other stuff. And I know, for example, you sort of invest in crypto and that kind of thing, but I don't know. I only know that because of your bio on Clubhouse, and we've been spending most days together, #bromance, for like a year now, but it's not evident to anyone else looking in, if that makes sense. So I think let me send you that branding document. I'll send it to you personally as well, because I think that'd be really, really useful for you, for sure.
Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome. You're welcome, my man. Right, let's go for...
Send it to me while you're there as well.
I will only send it to people who've got 1% chance of using it.
And me and Paul are going to work it all out. And,
I give up. So, that they say, if at first you don't succeed, try again. No. Sometimes just if you don't first succeed, just give up.
The thing is, it was like when you were just talking then about social media, brand and things like that. Like, when sometimes you think like, when someone says something, and if the shoe fits, wear it. I felt like he was talking to me, and then I thought, how is Paul feeling right now? He's either ignoring you or thinking, shit, I need to do this as well.
By the way,
I'm sitting here thinking, you're giving someone advice and the shoe fits for me. But then I'm thinking, God, they must be proper snug for Paul right now. But
the shoe also, in complete transparency, also fits for me as well. Because if you look at my social media, as someone who guides and advises people who've done quite substantial things, I don't do a good enough job of branding, for sure.
Yeah, no, I was sitting here thinking, the shoe was fitting really well for me, and then I just thought, then again, I felt like, okay, I've got Paul around, so it can't be that bad.
It can't be that bad.
But I'm so glad Paul, because
I'm not doing that good, but I'm not also doing that bad.
But then Paul turned around and said, can you send me that document as well? And I thought, okay, so it did fit with him as well. So I'm sitting there like, okay.
I will send that document though, and if you were part of Fortitude Mastermind, I know a couple of people have asked for it. I'm going to stick it into the WhatsApp group today. What are you doing, Captain Crypto? You look suspicious, like you're sneaking around. What are you sneaking around at?
Take your headphones off. There's a noise.
Oh, that.
It sounds like a fish tank. Have you bought your fish tank again? Ashley's always bringing his fish tank in, for God's sake. Right, let's get some more shares this morning. So if you've got a question or a query, business fundamentals, scaling up, maybe you want to talk about your marketing, your branding, maybe you just got an opinion that you'd like to share with us this morning, you are more than welcome to do so. Let's go to lovely Sharon, and then we'll go to, I can hear some more flag. Give us another flag. Keep flashing for a second. We'll go to equally lovely Lauren, and then we'll go to, I can hear some. Yeah, we'll go there first. So we're going to go Sharon, then Lauren. Sharon, over to you.
Thanks, James. Hi, guys. It's always fun listening to you in the mornings. What my question was a marketing-based question. So, I am sort of scaling my business. I think that's the right thing. It's not growing. So I'm scaling my business. I'm adding new products to my business, and one of the products that I'm going to be launching fairly soon is Lightroom presets. For anyone who doesn't know what Lightroom presets are, they're like the filters for your photographs. So you have your native filters on your phone, and then you can get presets to make your images look a certain way. Does anybody have any advice on how to market these? Because I went to the Global Women's Conference on Tuesday, and John Lee was doing a presentation there, and he talked about the $5 a day strategy, which is if you spend $5 a day on Facebook marketing, you'll get viewed by 730,000 or get 730,000 views in a year, and probably about 14,000 of those could buy. Now, based on that, that would give me a very healthy turnover in that area. But I just wanted to check whether you agreed with that or whether you thought there would be a better way of me promoting what I'm doing in this area. Thank you.
Great question. I can hear someone is flashing, so they obviously have an opinion. Who's flashing? Who's flashing to contribute?
It's Lauren.
Oh, okay. Go on, Lauren. What have you got on for us on that one?
I think the $5 a day, £5 a day, that really does work. But what it does is that amount of money isn't going to lead people to actually buy. That's the best tactic I find, and in my understanding of from various different industries, that's for brand awareness. So what that's going to do is that's going to start building you a huge list of people that are interested in you. When people hover, when people read, when people look at that sponsored post, that ad, that's going to start building you a really fantastic audience. And then what you do is once you've built that audience from your brand awareness campaigns, you're able to then retarget them so that you have a better spend on your ad money to then do a sales conversion ad on Facebook. So the $5 a day is absolutely going to be great to build your, an audience of interest that you can then go back to and retarget. So the money that you're spending is going to a targeted audience rather than an open cold audience. So yeah, that absolutely does work. And I think
how do I retarget them, Lauren? Do I have to collect their data or their emails?
No, Facebook will do that for you. So Facebook will recognize all of the people that that look at that brand awareness campaign, and it will automatically in the background build an audience that you can then retarget. And it's a retargeting campaign that will target all of the people that have looked.
Fabulous. Thank you.
Coming from someone, Lauren, who's bought, not Lauren, Sharon, who's bought
everything.
Yeah, a load of tech, camera equipment, filters, plugins that work with Photoshop and Adobe products and all that stuff. And trust me, I've spent a lot of money on that stuff, that kind of stuff. The guys in front of me will back you up on that. I buy it all from what I've seen on YouTube.
Yeah, that's what
literally all of it from YouTube. So I'll watch a video on somebody who's trying to solve the problem that I'm trying to solve on YouTube, and then I'll go down the rabbit hole of clicking on them, or there'll be a link in their bio, or there'll be a link on the blog, or there'll be something, but it all relates back to YouTube. All my purchasing decisions that I've ever made go back to YouTube.
Yeah, I was going to say that. There's a guy I used to work with when I was doing some stuff with James Sinclair called Chudders. Mike Chudley, he's called. He's a brilliant photographer. So exactly what I was going to say is I would look at going down there sort of the influencer marketing route, almost like gifting it to them, or even paying them to use it, because there's a massive community for not only the photography and the videography experts out there, but for Mike's doing a lot of stuff at the moment with street photography. It takes a beautiful pictures, but he's just started doing a specific series around street photography with your iPhone. And some of the images that he gets are absolutely stunning. I'll send you his. I'll pop you a DM and send you his Instagram.
Yeah,
handle.
I would watch something. So how I would go down that rabbit hole, Sharon, if I was going to buy something like that, I'd probably go onto YouTube and I'd search for, I do it
best
with
Iphone filters.
Yeah, I do it with Photoshop all the time and stuff. How to fix this particular problem, or how do you resolve this issue, or something along those lines. And then I'll just start watching the videos basically. And so whatever problem your filter fixes, or your Lightroom plugin or filters fix, you should be doing content around that, and then just sticking it out in the relevant places, and people will find it.
And Mike Chudley, by the way, Chudders, he's got about 15,000 followers on Instagram. He's got about 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, but he still does a lot of videos where he promotes stuff that's just been gifted to him if he thinks it's good. So I think that, and there's a huge, he does like meetups and stuff now. He did one just after the pandemic, and I think there was like 30 other like street photographers who turned up, and they literally just walked from like East London into Central. So they did stuff in like Leicester Square, and then they walked out as far as like Shoreditch, and they were just taking photos. But all of them are bloggers, all of them are vloggers, all of them are doing street photography how-tos and that kind of stuff on YouTube. So I think that influencer market on YouTube would be really, really big for you, as well as the $5 a day strategy. I think that could be a real big play for you.
Thank you. So basically, I need to set up a YouTube channel now.
Yeah, or you go and target those people, because this is the other thing, right? You could go down the route of setting up your own channel. You definitely should. So there's somewhere that people can go back to. But fundamentally, is if you could find 50 of the top iPhone street photography experts, and you'd give them those plugins, and they're brilliant things to have, those sort of like pre-built presets. My wife bought some on Lightroom, I think it was, but then once she made that purchasing decision, now they keep sending her more options to buy other stuff as well. But if you went and found 50 of the top influencers in that space, who again, they're very influential in that space, but they haven't got huge just huge random numbers, if that makes sense. Mike's followers of like 15,000 on Instagram, but he gets huge levels of engagement because they're very much interested in the subject that he's covered, and that's how they find him, because they're looking for that like how-to content. And so yes, you should do your own YouTube channel, but also leverage other people's, and gift them the plugins in exchange for a review. Because again, don't forget, a lot of the sort of the small scale influencers who've maybe got like 5,000-10,000 followers, they want to get stuff sent to them, and they won't expect to charge for it, but they're the right demographic with the right sets of eyeballs for you.
Jagdeep has something to say on this. He's sent me a message in the background.
And I think Lauren has his.
Jagdeep, go for it, mate.
Yeah, just thanks a lot, Sharon. Just for me, with my photography business, and we recently.
Clubhouse just crashed on me. Back in there now. Hold on.
Is the volume
Is it just me, or is
I lost signal. I couldn't hear Jagdeep, but I thought it was me.
The whole room crashed for us. The app just died.
Oh, right. Sorry. I didn't hear what you said, Jagdeep. I heard up to your team bought some presets.
I think it was Jagdeep we've actually lost, as opposed to us.
Oh, okay.
Lauren, did you have something to say?
He's so popular. Jagdeep is so popular. He's crashed the app.
Yeah.
Flipping crashed it. Go on, Lauren. You can fill for time. Go for it until Jagdeep comes back, and then he can give us a flash. So keep talking until we tell you otherwise.
Got it. Okay. No, Sharon, but the other thing is, you've got such an awesome following on TikTok. I truly believe that you can take that a step further. The advertising opportunities on that platform are huge right now. And if you're not utilizing that first, I think it's a bit of a rookie error, because you've got how many followers have you got over there now? 25,000?
27.3 thousand currently.
Yeah, and they're pretty targeted. All you do there is exactly, anyone that's interested in any one of your posts there would be interested in your Lightroom presets. So I think that you really could start it off there, and take a lot of information on how to do things and what your messaging needs to be. If you can get it right on TikTok and then take that messaging elsewhere, I think that will be a really efficient way for you to be putting your spend out there on ads. And as the guys say, once YouTube, you don't even have to have your own YouTube channel, but you can so easily target other people that are on, using the platform that are similar to you. You can just go and hop on their audiences very easily on YouTube. But first of all, I would definitely look at getting your messaging right and how it feels good over on TikTok before you start trying to play with messaging elsewhere. You've got a ready and waiting audience. So even before like Facebook ads, I would go with TikTok. That would be my
yeah, I had thought about that, and I'm probably going to set up a YouTube channel anyway, just teaching people how to pose. that's going to be my YouTube channel, and then I can add the presets in as well. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Great question. Some great tips there and advice. Is Jagdeep back? Jaggy, you back? You there? Jagdeep, are you there?
Yeah, sorry guys. You know what? It's really annoying because like when you get someone calling you, you totally just get lost. I'm so sorry. I was just about to message Sharon and ask if she heard what I said. What I was just about to say was that with my photography company, we recently bought some presets, and that was actually done like how Paul described, where my guys went in onto YouTube looking at a technique on how to do a specific edit, and the video after that was for someone else who was selling their presets. So through that, they didn't buy from the first video, they bought it from the second video, because it just was really helpful. So if you're looking to do something like that, Sharon, it's really worth looking at YouTube ads or having your video come after, say, someone like, I don't know, Jerry Gionis or one of the top portrait photographers, so that every time they play their video, the next video will be your video describing the presets. I hope that helps.
It does. And I've forgotten the name of the guy who does the Instagram, the YouTube ads. What's his name again?
I can't remember. I think the guys will be able to.
You've interviewed him here, guys. What's his name?
Tom Breeze.
Tom Breeze.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make a note of that. Thanks. Thanks so much. It's really helpful.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, go and check, because Tom actually said, and it's on the app as a replay, because James Sinclair was listening and he was like, can you send me that? I was like, you can get the app like everybody else, Jimbo. There was a whole strategy, wasn't there? I'm sure he was doing $5 a day on, I can't remember. Go and check it out on the app. There was a replay. I'll try and find the episode or the date, because you can find all of the previous shows. But he had a whole strategy around organically. I'm sure it was like 100,000 impressions they were getting for like less than $300 a month or something, because that was $5 a day, wasn't it?
You looking at me for an answer?
I was hoping.
Okay, no, I don't know. I do remember the episode, but I can't remember the exact specifics.
I'm going to find it anyway. Let's all. Good question. And
but actually, on another note, inside the app there is Tom Breeze's EMC keynote.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. So in the bonus content on the app, you can click on there, and it's in the premium section, unfortunately, so you have to subscribe. But there is a Tom Breeze's all of the keynotes from EMC last year are on there.
Fantastic.
And Tom Breeze's is on there.
Yeah, I reckon YouTube, Sharon, is. I reckon this is the golden goose for you. I reckon.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on there, boys. You heard it here first.
Do it.
Do it.
Well, who is flashing? Someone is flashing. Who is flashing to contribute? Give us Horsey Jen. Go on, Horsey Jen. What you got for us?
It wasn't to contribute to that point. It was a new question, if that's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. Where are you? Are you in Narnia?
No, I'm out in the woodlands walking my Sprudel.
Do you know I didn't realise? It's because she never told us until I heard her say it in at the hotel on Tuesday. She was part of Team GB.
Who what? Was she? Horsey Jen?
Yeah.
No way. I did not know that.
You said that, didn't you? You were, weren't you, Jen?
I'm on the squad training to be representing my country, yeah.
There we go.
In what?
Well, what do you think?
In a non-Olympic sport, unfortunately.
Cycling.
Yeah.
It might be a good cycle.
Seriously.
Swimming.
No, but like, for example, you're known for systems, but also...
I'm not going to be on Team GB, am I?
Well, no, but if they bring out the miserable Olympics, I think you might be the captain of the squad. I'll give you the fucking flag.
Gold medal instantly. There's no competition. You'll win by default.
So what? So hang on. So you're in Team GB.
You meet
squad,
someone who's a skier, and they say, "Oh yeah, I'm really good at my sport. I'm good at Team GB in what?
Chess."
Yeah, but there's different types, because you're. So those those uncouth to the equestrian world. Sorry, Horsey Jen. Sorry about him. He just thinks you get on a horse and that's it.
I don't.
She might be dressage.
I was quite involved in the equestrian world. I have, you know.
Of course you were. You were a
polo
player.
Yeah.
How do you have
Go on, Horsey Jen.
Not very good. Tell us. Not very good, and I can't ride a horse like Jen can ride a horse. I can guarantee you that almost.
So how does being part of Team GB work if it's a non-Olympic sport?
Well, It's just like there's 3 disciplines that are in the Olympics, which is dressage, show jumping, and eventing. But if you think of all the different horse disciplines, there's loads and loads of them, but they're not Olympic sports. So if Paul was good enough to represent Team GB in polo, he'd still be part of Team GB. It just wasn't an Olympic discipline.
I see. So what one are you? What brand of horsing about are you?
It's called working equitation, and it's actually pretty new, considering all the other sports are like centuries old. It only came into the UK in the 90s. So
working equitation.
Well, the thing is, it's just Lauren's bit saying in the chat about doing a bit of the mastermind, and Matt was like, no, like Lauren, know what Jenny does, like bush jumping. Not that I know the correct term, but not that I know the correct term.
But I suppose in working equitation, I suppose it's more things like bridge slalom, double slalom, Garrow pole, bull and ring, small jump, opening and closing the gates, cloverleaf barrels, side pass pole, stock pen, rainback, LNZ, and bell corridors. That kind of stuff, isn't it?
You're so educated.
Wow, James, that was incredible. That's like you connected to some universal source.
I know.
And just had the answers.
I'm just big in the game. I'm not horsing about. Hey, banter. Right, go on then. What can we now? We know you're an potential Olympic legend. If they bring working equitation into the sport, what can we do for you other than that? You Olympic legend.
I've forgotten the question now. Right.
Also, what's a sprudel? Springer Spaniel and a poodle.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. We've learnt a lot today, guys.
Oh yes, I remember my question now. Thank goodness. Right. Okay. So one of the things that came up, in Fortitude, was that I have got so many different things that I'm trying to manage all at the same time, and it's taken me away from what I want to be doing in the business, which is really creating the good content and creating the information as the expert. So obviously I'm a mindset coach, so I'm the expert in the business, and then there's all these other things that you have to do, and I'm trying to systemize and process as much as possible. But one of the things that was mentioned, which is like an absolute stroke of genius to me, is something called an online business manager, and it was Nick that gave me the idea. And I had never even heard of this thing or person or role before. And what it sounds like to me is basically a project manager that manages all of your online stuff, any projects you've got that are online ones. So they'll bring together the designers, they'll bring together the technical people, they'll bring together the people that you need to make it happen. And this blew my brain, because this was like, this is exactly what I need. Why had I not thought I needed a project manager? Probably because, and I think this is quite typical in a lot of solopreneurs, is that I used to be a project manager. I used to be a proper project manager in charge of billion-pound telecoms projects when I was younger. That's what I did. And so I sort of thought, oh, I can do project management. That's what I can do. But actually in this business, I don't have the time to do project management as well as online business managers. Has anyone used one? I know Lauren mentioned that she has. Is this something that I've just been stuck in a dark hole and never heard of, or is that actually this really common? And I just wondered what people's thoughts were on that, and I hope you can hear me okay, because I have got the red bar because I'm in the middle of the woods.
We could hear you in bits.
So, yeah.
We
heard enough.
We heard enough.
enough.
Online business managers. Any experience of using an online business manager?
Are you looking at me for an answer?
Yeah.
No. And do you know what? We've had this debate, and we're going to have this debate after 9 o'clock. I'm going to be fairly controversial here again. I don't think you can grow the business that you want solely with an online team. I just do not believe it's possible.
I believe that.
And maybe that's my own limitations and my own management style, but I know that I can't build
dictatorship.
That's not dictatorship, but I know that I can't build and get the traction that I want unless I've got a team in front of me, face to face, that I can speak to and shout at.
Well, no,
and lock the doors and just steer the ship in the right direction when the ship is not in front of you, when the steering wheel is not in front of you, and it's lag. Because what you get with online as well is lag. And I don't care who you are and how anybody's built their business model online with outsourcers. You have to have a team of people close to you where you can prevent that lag from occurring. Because you have somebody online and you send them an instruction, or you use a task management system to get it to them, or you send them an email, or you communicate on Slack or WhatsApp, or however you do it, however that communication channel works. When they're not in front of you, there's always going to be a lag. I think you're finding that with the agency, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And that is.
And by the way, that's people in the UK, just because they don't work in an office because of the way that that role has been set up to be flexible. I mean, there's flexibility, and then there's just turn up when you fancy it. Treat your job like a hobby.
Yeah, I built my business off of being able to sit in front of somebody or walk to the office and say, John,
that's all I know.
That needs to be amended now. Drop whatever you're doing and do that. Yeah, and when you've done it, speak to Dan, who's sitting across the desk from you, and let him know that you've done it, and then solve that problem next. And that was probably because, and this is so I'm giving myself a counter argument to my argument. That was probably because most of the time we were firefighting problems that were occurring because we was in quite a complex business model. So if the marketing process is systemized out, if the onboarding process of customers is systemized out, if the way you communicate with your clients is systemized out, i.e. you've got a portal or a platform or you don't have lots of challenges, if all of the products and services you sell are the same, so if you're selling the membership to a membership program and you don't have to effectively
have any dealings with that?
Yeah, where
client.
I was doing it, every product was bespoke. We was consulting on a bespoke basis. So every project was different. There was no one repetitive task at any point. So you couldn't fully systemize that out. So in certain business models, I think, yes, you could probably do it with online staff if it was all repetitive. If everything you was doing repetitive, where it was like a machine, you could just chuck more clients in at the start and have the product churn out at the end, then yes, of course.
So like with Sharon's presets, for example, that doesn't need a team in the UK face-to-face for me. No. Potentially there's a digital product, there's a way to onboard them, there's a way to do the marketing, the retargeting, blah, blah, blah. That could be systemized via a virtual team.
Yeah. Just so happens I complicate the shit out of everything. So I wouldn't work for me. I just wouldn't. That manager that was managing those key elements for me, I'd want to have physical presence with.
Yes. And as someone who is going through that process now, I think there's two things to this. When you employ somebody in the traditional sense and they are under your duty of care as a business owner, etc., I think there's a different mentality towards it. I think you expect more from somebody. Like, for example, I've got a couple of people who are, well, the marketing team is kind of virtual. You've got the audio production team that are kind of virtual. Graphics is distance from the graphics part of it because it's sort of they're not, again, I think they're not full time, so therefore they're not gonna, you can't expect that much. But the person who is team manager UK based, I have a high expectation of what they deliver because they are in the UK. We meet up on a weekly basis. I mean, live around the corner from me now. It's gonna make it awkward, but I do have that. I do have that different expectation for sure. However, to the counter argument, if it was more systemized and process driven, could it be run? Probably.
I think strategically as well. It goes back to where your people are. So if you've built a global team and they're spread across different countries in different time zones.
Then, you did that specifically.
Yeah, then I would strategically probably put, say, someone like in an online business manager role that worked across the majority of those time zones.
Yeah.
So then that would be a strategic reason why that would happen.
So you could have drawings that you needed done. Your team in London used to leave at 5 o'clock and then it get passed on to the team in Dubai potentially, or India, or wherever. So
correct.
Back in the morning.
But what I done when I was growing that and building that is we put key people that I'd
on the ground
cultivated in the UK from the office in the UK, and we'd put them in the ground in India or Dubai or Hong Kong, wherever they were needed, and they would be those satellite managers for me in those territories.
The term is put them on the ground, not in the ground. That's got a very different connotation. And coming from you, it sounds very much more sinister. I'll put that person there, I'll put them in the ground. Oh, did you?
So I think it just goes back to whatever the business model is.
It probably also depends on, you know how to do it face to face because that's how you did it. If you'd have been forced to do it online, you'd be like, you could do it online.
Yeah, because
you only know what you know.
Yeah, we're old gits, aren't we, really, in the great scheme of things? You know, we are.
We actually are. Well,
if I was 20 now, starting a business, I'd only know one way. You'd only know you'd only know building a remote team online.
Yeah, true.
Because we're dinosaurs.
Has anybody done it? Has anyone successfully? Lauren's done it. Go on, Lauren.
I just wanted to quickly jump in here because I really think that the FaceTime is so important, that, you know, in-person time with an OBM, you know, business manager, OBM. I think OBM is just the modern term for it. My OBM comes in, like, she needs to be able to feel the energy from me, because ultimately I'm going to step aside and she's going to then carry on and be the would-be me to have the conversations with other people. And I don't think people can really get enough of the vibe and the energy and a full cultural understanding of what it is you're trying to create if you have never met them, if they are not available to be there in person. So yeah, I have VAs that aren't in the country, but my OBM, BM, lives down the road. And it's really important to me that they are able to come in and get the vibe. I mean, it's possibly a little different, maybe, I don't know, because I have a brick and mortar business. It's really important that they understand the vibe and the energy that's here. But I just don't think people, I agree with you guys, I don't think people can wholly take on the role to a level of what people want them to if you're not meeting in person. They are literally there to take over you doing work. They are there to be your, you know, your second you, so that they go in between you and other staff so that you can do what you need to do. They can't do that unless they have enough of you in person, because it's not the whole you. So as much as I do have virtual staff, I built an office here at Ali Afia for the different businesses that also, you know, all the team do come in, because I just think it's so important, and that they mix with each other, because they get the vibe off of each other. They, you know, you can't have creative meetings easily online. There's just an aspect of part of the creation process, which is emotion and energy, that is lost when we do it virtually. So, you know, and I don't, you know, even I don't work as well from home as I do in the office. So, you know, I can't expect anyone else to. And I do think it's really important that we do have that touch time, carefully said, with our staff.
I had a situation yesterday. So I had a meeting with my team manager yesterday, and I didn't get frustrated. I don't think she listens to Clubhouse, so I can say this. But there was a real, like, she's been with me for about a year now, and this is someone who's, you know, full-time employed and has been, you know, this is their sole job, you know, and is paid a decent salary to do a decent job. Came from sort of the world of banking, and then, you know, effectively came in as a high level PA/EA, I guess, and maybe I sort of, you know, given her roles and responsibilities that she fundamentally didn't want or never asked for, frankly. But yesterday, there was a question that came up yesterday about some files. So the way that it works, we set up back-end systems so that clients can upload files, and then we obviously work from those files. And then when the files are delivered, when we've done the audio and the assets and the marketing graphics and all the show notes and all that stuff, it goes into a separate folder, and then the client can access all that stuff easily from one place. Dead simple, right? We've tried to make it as simple as possible, even though Paul thinks I made it well convoluted. Subject for another day. Really hurts my feelings that he doesn't like my system. But there's a question about, I'm a bit confused because the client's uploaded 4 files. They've never done that before. I was like, okay, what are the 4 files? Well, I'm not really sure. There's just 4 files. Well, I looked in there. I said, well, who is it? You know, host and guest. Yeah. Is it a video file? Yeah, one of them's a video file. I said, is it only one? I think it's only one. I said, go and have a look, because I bet there's 2 MP3 files and 2 video files. She went, oh yeah, it is. She went, why do we need 4 files? Like, well, it's 2 separate recordings, so they've got an audio and a video for each person, effectively. Oh, right, why would we need that? And I'm like, how don't you get how this works still? We run a podcast agency. Like, how do you... That's the most basic form of production. But then I sort of sat there and I was like, but she's not been in the environment where she would learn that stuff. I sort of almost want her to be, you know, in extracurricular time learning, or not even in extracurricular time, she might as well do it in curricular time, frankly, learning about the industry, learning about the sector, but hasn't really got the proximity, I guess, to be in and around it every day, having the conversations that elevates your knowledge by default.
There was bigger conversations going on, wasn't there? We've had them in this room about how the hybrid working model and you know, all of that stuff, right? And big tech, I say big tech, big corporates tend to lead the way, don't they? And I would say financial institutes, would you agree, probably lead the way in terms of behaviour? And I know 5 people, I was just counting them up while you were saying that. I know 5 people who work in relatively senior roles in London for financial institutions, whether it's brokerages, banks, etc. And they, 4 months ago, they believed, with this hybrid world, we're going to the office once a week. There's not enough desks in the office.
Yeah.
What have they been told recently? Get back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've taken on more office space. We're giving everybody a desk. Get back to work, because productivity is never going to be the same. Like, if you're out of sight, you're out of mind, aren't you? That is just it. And people's problems as well. When somebody's at home or working remotely, their problems become your problems. Like, if you started work at 9 o'clock, if you have got a staff member in the office and their working hours are 9 till 5 in their employment contract, they come into work at 9 o'clock, they go home at 5 o'clock. And yes, you have the company culture and you can be flexible on all of that. And there's all that other stuff that goes on. But all of a sudden, what COVID's done for us over the past couple of years is now it's okay for somebody to book a dentist appointment at 9 o'clock in the morning, or for somebody to have a childcare issue and take the kids to school. Now, I know you should find a balance, but going back 5 years, somebody would solve their problem prior to their working start time. So if somebody had childcare issues, they would resolve their childcare issue before 9 o'clock in the morning, and they would get themselves to work for the start time, which was 9 o'clock. Now, in the working from home environment, I can't log on till 11 o'clock because something's come up and I've got to be here and I've got to do this. And that's acceptable to say, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll do
Paul.
it.
Yeah.
Paul, so I think what James talked about, that situation about his manager not knowing about the 2 file things. It's a really hard lesson, because I've got the same situation where the thing is, people don't know what they don't know, so they don't know to ask the question. So she probably didn't even have the concept of needing the fact that you need 2 files for the quality of the end audio.
Yeah, exactly.
And what Paul's referring to, right? You're right, Paul. Get back in the office, but there's going to be pushback. There's not going to be a situation where people are going to be back in the office 9 to 5, 5 days a week. It's never going to happen, right?
Beiju, there will be when they're paying £500 a month extra for their electric, and electric's free. And electric free's at work when you haven't got to heat your house all day.
I take that on board, and they might be sleeping at the office at that rate as well. So,
I'm moving to Ilford.
Your service accommodation, half of those might be flats. So you never know. You go next door. Where's your office? Next door. Where am I living? Next door. So it's like, in Ilford. So no, you're right. There's push and give everywhere. But what this requires is leaders and owners and entrepreneurs to step up their way of managing and leading. So we might think the workers have got to understand how to be more productive at home and all the rest of it, but it requires us actually, if we have this hybrid model, we have to find a different way to lead, cajole, to hold people accountable where they feel empowered and not micromanaged. So there's a bigger conversation here.
Yeah, I removed leave. I removed leave allocation for my staff 6 years ago. Took all leave allowances out. There wasn't a leave allowance. You could have as much leave as you wanted as long as the job got done. If you could manage your project and you could get the job done, and you could hit your targets and goals and performance numbers that we set in place in terms of each project, if the team could do that, quite frankly, I couldn't care where they done that from, as long as those numbers were hit. But it was, and you would get staff that used to embrace that. And this comes down to personality testing. It goes into a different type of, when you recruit the right type of people. There are people that when you give them a loose framework will excel in that environment and thrive in that environment. And then there are personality types that need a really close set of rails to work within. And if you stretch those rails and move them in either direction, they fall off of them.
So that's a recruitment question then.
Yeah.
So there's a step up for the leaders is even more so in this hybrid model. We've got to know how to hire the right people and avoid those mistakes. We've got to know how to lead them in a different way so they feel empowered. And in a certain way, the sort of the work, if you like, working from home, not got it easy, but there's a different dynamic. So we're thinking, oh my God, how do we have to change? We have to change fundamentally, and that's a learning all round.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure there's. Is anyone else actually sort of successfully grown? Because we don't want to sort of poor Jenny's just gone for a walk with a Labradoodle or whatever it is, and thinking that she can get an online business manager, and we've all just trounced on the concept.
It depends on her business model. I know Jen. I think from what I've heard her say, sells a lot of stuff to the US or has a lot of clients overseas. So, I think it depends. It really depends on the product or service that you're offering. And how repetitive those tasks are and how systemized it all is. If it's growing and there's no systems or there's no processes or there's no repetitive tasks that that are detailed out there at the moment, then no, I would say that the first step is to have somebody close to you to build all of that out, and then that role could then be moved to someone else who's further away from you once it's all built out. But if nothing's built out at the moment and it's all inside your head, then no, I think it needs to be somebody close to you first.
I was on the round table when we was having a conversation, and Nick was saying about having the online business manager, but Nick's got on the ground, and as you said, I was talking to you about someone I'm working with, the repetitive tasks are outsourced to VAs, and then he's built that, then put an online manager on top of him because the hard work had already gone in. So it's like, so he's got both. And yeah, so it's what people underestimate is when I tried looking into it and I realised how hard it was. And I remember just saying that these ain't going to work for me. They're not good. But it all come down to me not being able to prepare properly for a VA to take over, because it's like they are robotic. You have to it's like you have to program them because they are just doing as they say. And I like a team around me that will have a little bit of initiative as well. So it's like, we need to produce that. And then it's like, and then for my team, they go, here's 3 examples. What do you think's best? And I'm like, that. Now let's improve that by X, Y, and Z. And it's, as Paul said, it's on the spot. So it's like, it's not like back and forth with an email.
If anybody, I'm going to give somebody, write this down as well, because this will probably be one of the most valuable resources you get given here on Clubhouse. I'm going to give away a secret. Shall I give it away?
I don't know. What is it on your screen?
No, it is on my screen. There's a company called GitHub, GIT Hub, a software developer. They're 56 million users worldwide. Anyway, that point's irrelevant what they do. People in the software world will know who they are, and people that aren't in the software world probably won't have a clue. But there's a company called GitHub. But what's really important is they make all of their policies, processes, systems public for people to see, because they've got quite a big outsource-based community of people that work all over the world for them.
Okay.
So you can go to docs.github.com, and you'll be able to see every single one of their internal processes, systems, their process maps,
that's cool,
their policies, their procedures, everything. So a lot of the stuff we're talking about, okay, and some of those, when you read through some of those systems and processes, they're quite tech and system driven, but you can get the way that big organisations structure their processes around an outsourced based team by going and looking at that. So look at that, docs.github.com.
What is that? Are they showing you what people use or how they operate?
It's like it's access to their internal intranet.
Oh, so then you can. Then it gives you an understanding of how deep you probably need.
It's public access. So you want to. So employee onboarding, for instance, go into their search topics, type employee onboarding, and you'll get their employee onboarding process.
I'll put a link at the top of the room for a few minutes. Edit the pinned link. Here we go. Docs.github.com. Bosh. There you go. Hashtag you're welcome. There you go. Click the link at the top of the room right now if you would like to access that.
You need to do a bit of digging, but trust me, all of the information's on there.
Is this going to solve my problems?
Well, if you read, you need to have the ability to read.
Okay, then somebody
else.
else.
It's not solving mine then. I didn't need you to have the ability to write correctly to find the right information. So
yeah, exactly. You have to be able to type.
Disciplinary. What I've understood as well in our chat sometimes, and I think like, should I delete that and rewrite it? But I think you're either just winging and guessing what I say sometimes, or you've started to understand broken English. Like it's either one. And I read back and I think,
yeah, when someone's learning a language, it's like Spanglish. They sort of like go between the two. Hola, how are you? Yeah, muy bien. Very good. Thanks very much for asking. How are you? Yes, cerveza. Yeah. It's like that. It's Ashlish. Half English, half Ash. If you can translate that, you're onto a good thing. Yeah, so click the link at the top of the room if you'd like to get access to that. Very, very useful resource, that. docs.github.com at the top of the room. Right now, we're going to switch out. We're going to talk about the app before we finish off today as well. Horsey Gen, hopefully that was useful. Is anyone actually running a completely remote? Has anyone we've talked about the obviously the benefits of having people sort of virtually less far away, if you're, whether it be an office or you've got people who come into a co-working space or a co-working environment or whatever it may be, is there anyone who's working solely with a remote team? I know there's people who, have got VA outsourcing companies who are often sat in the room. So if anyone has actually sort of made this work, give us a flash of the mic. I can hear a flash. Oh, and a shell.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm just flashing my mic. So yes, we've got a remote team across the globe. Our head office is in Australia. I'm heading the UK remote facilitators, and we've got people in Asia and America. And we do, our COO is amazing at systems and processes, but I've just sent her that link because that was an amazing piece of golden nugget information, Paul. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Horsey Jen is back flashing. What say you, Horsey Jen?
Yeah, I just wanted to. Sorry, I got kicked out of Clubhouse and it just wouldn't let me back in. But I'm back. So I just wanted to say I'm actually a bit worried about what Paul said there. Like, I do get where he's coming from, but when I was in a global role, I was a global consultant. I was heading up talent management across the globe, 185 countries we were in, and I had a remote team, and I saw them maybe once a quarter because they were literally all over the world. And I think it's all very well saying, oh, people are only motivated when they're in a location, but I think people are motivated when they're motivated, and so I don't think it really matters whether they're virtual or whether they're in
Jen,
country or location.
Sorry, the bit you're missing there is you hit the nail on the head. You worked for a huge corporate who have the rows already in place. They have the policies in place. They have the structure in place. The chances are they've profiled their employees when they employ them. So they've got the right type of employee in the right role for a start. So all of that stuff really underpins that backbone of allowing somebody to flourish in that role. When you're a new business and you're just starting or you're scaling your business, if you don't have that stuff in place, carnage can quite easily outbreak in what you're doing, because this is a lot of people look at what big corporate do and big tech, what they do, and GitHub's an example, right? If you look at that the amount of documentation that's on that portal that I've just given you a link to, that's what's required to do it really well at scale. But most businesses don't have that. Big corporates do. So you see the side of managing a remote team that you've been given, but they've been employed in the right way. Their employee processes, their onboarding processes, all of that stuff has been done in a way to allow that person to flourish in their role, which is fine if you can replicate that, if you can come up with your own onboarding process, if you can come up with your own workflows, your own automations in the background to make all of their stuff easy and manage that process. But most of the time, what we will do is we'll get somebody online who's remote. We'll give them a half-hearted job description. We won't really give them much support in terms of a repository of information like that GitHub documentation or a business playbook or a process playbook or a collection of Loom videos. Most of the time, we don't give them any of that information. We just give them an online role with a loose job description. We meet them once a month, or we do a Zoom call weekly or something like that, and we expect them, like James has done. James has expected his manager to flourish in that role and take on an element of self-learning and find out that information. But he hasn't incentivized her to do that or given her the tools to be able to do that. He's just made the assumption that she's going to want to do that. And most people that work for somebody don't want to do that.
Goddamn failed. I failed. Thank you, Paul, for showing me.
So the onboarding, the way you recruit that person and the way you onboard them, and then the access to information that you give them to support them doing their role, you just basically need to give them the tools to flourish in that role, as opposed to going, do this role for me. How does it work?
Yeah, okay. I'll let you have that one then.
I'll let you have that one.
Let you have that
I was guilty of it. I've had so many, in the last few years, I've had so many remote staff, and it's never really worked for me. But I'm to blame for that, because I haven't given them, I know the mistakes I've made, and I haven't given them the tools to do the role.
It's like talking to someone who's been in business for 50 years about social media marketing. You have to really show them and understand, because it's not been the way they've done business for so long.
Which is why I'll flourish with a team in front of me, because you can get around some of those gaps that are not necessarily there, because you can provide the rows on a daily basis. You can put the barriers in place on a daily basis to prevent them from doing stuff you don't want them to do.
Yeah.
When they're remote, you've got to have the back end do that for you.
Yeah, 100%. I concur. I agree.
Yeah, I concur.
So if anyone's looking for a podcast job here in Near Ilford, there might be one becoming available. Is that a professional? I don't know. Who cares? Elaine, she's here. She's flashing all the same. It's lovely, Elaine. That's her unofficial theme tune.
What was that?
Just a song for Elaine. Why not? Ask yourself the question instead of why. Ask yourself why not.
Why not?
Why not?
I'm actually just packing here because I'm on a flight today.
Oh, where you going?
Nice?
Where you going?
I'm going to Ghana today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Got some work to do there, but yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of sunshine.
In case the taxman's listening, of course you are. Of course you are. Claim those flights back.
I've got. I wanted to just add to the OBM question. I have used an OBM in the past, when we first started. And I agree with Paul, and I agree with James. Kind of agree with Lauren as well. But my overall thing is, that person needs to understand your business for them to take over as you. It's just really, I was just looking at emails from her like you should know this, but it's because she didn't understand the industry that I was in. So yeah, if you are going to get an OBM, get one that understands your industry. That's what I was going to say. I've got a question. Somebody sent me a back channel from a really good friend of mine who's in the audience, Lorraine Wright, MBE. And she said...
We were just talking about Lorraine Wright. How bizarre is that?
Really? She's a really good friend of mine.
What's she got an MBE for? We could bring her up and ask her, but I'm going to ask you instead.
Yeah, so she runs an organisation called University Gospel Choir. And she started that organisation, and Lorraine, you can tell me if I'm wrong. She started that organisation because she realised that there was no cohesiveness in universities. People didn't feel like they belonged or anything like that. So she started a competition for universities to put together university choirs come and compete. And yeah, that's what she got her MBE for. So she's been doing that for a while. Doing really well. So Lorraine, come up, but I will ask the question for you. She said, I want to know what the cost-effective way is to find influencers. And she said that she gets standard and generic answers, but she just needs a simple answer. She's a bit like me, straightforward, get the results. So she's asking you.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Lorraine is now up on stage. So, Lorraine, welcome to Clubhouse. We collect MBEs here, like their trophies. So you're welcome. You're very welcome within our gang, within our club.
Thank you.
So what's the business you're looking for influencers for?
Oh, it's a beauty business. So we're selling magnetic lashes. But I think the question, just to follow up on what Elaine said, very often there was a question that came up earlier on about influencer marketing. Very generic. You could go to the places and target those places where, your potential clients may be. But and then search hashtags, etc. Very generic. But are there any cost and time-effective ways to find, the best influencer marketers or the best influencers to work with that are particularly targeted to your audience?
Yeah, I would say there's lots of influencer agencies out there now that are popping up. So I'd probably be looking at those and then put those. So then rather than create a very succinct pitch of exactly what you're looking for, who your demographic is, what you're trying to do, who you're trying to reach. And then I would say reach out to those influencer agencies. If you Google the term, I've not done it, but if you Google influencer agency UK, you're probably going to get a couple of dozen that will pop up. And then rather than you sort of, pitching people individually, you're going to be pitching companies who maybe are looking after 10 people. So if you can send 20 emails, you can now got the potential reach of 200 of them, is what I would be looking at doing.
If you're into learning, Lorraine, there's an organisation, they're Australian, but they provide a lot of courses. There's an organisation called Founder. Some of you know.
Founder, didn't you?
Founder Mag have got a course, and this might not all of this will be relevant to you, but a big proportion of the course is around influencers. And there's a lady called Greta who runs the course. Greta Van Riel, I think her name is.
Yeah, I'm aware of her.
Yeah, and she's built huge e-commerce brand. But I've actually done that course, a lot of that course, and a lot of the content is around influencer marketing. There's some really good golden nuggets in there. So I'd check out it's not expensive in the great scheme of things, and you could probably just flick straight through to the influencer marketing bits. And she's actually got an agency finding influencers as well. But I would do the course part first. So that's on Founder. It's called It's called, what is it called? The course under there. I think it's called Start and Scale, something along those lines. Start and Scale on an e-commerce business. But majority of that content is around how she built her, unpicking how she built her organisation based on influencer marketers.
So that's her whole sort of remit of going to market was influencers, wasn't it? Is she the one who did the bottles?
She's done watches, bottles, there's all sorts of stuff, yeah. But a lot of that course content is how she unpicks how she built that brand off of influencer marketing. On a whilst bootstrapping it as well, so not on a big budget, by the way.
Great to hear. Thank you. Just to follow up on that, I think one of our biggest challenges, because I do multiple different things, I actually am also the head of crowdfunding for an agri-tech startup in Ghana, where Elaine is traveling to today. And we really are about allowing anybody, wherever you are in the world, to actually get involved in agriculture for financial returns, but also for social impact benefits as well. With as little as $25, you can, get a piece of farmland and you can start growing crops like maize, pineapple, whatever. And you can be in the comfort of your own living room or walking your dog, as one of the moderators were doing this morning whilst growing. Now, one of the challenges we faced with that has been, trying to find the right influencers across the globe, right? And when we are very much an organization that's focused on allowing anybody wherever you are in the world, it's really difficult to try and start targeting and finding those people that are in those pockets of places across the world, right? So that's been, I guess, another challenge of mine, and looking at, that's hence my question about the time effectiveness. And yes, I will follow up on that founder recommendation. I have actually followed Greta for some time now, and did try and do one of her courses, just haven't got round to doing it. But yeah, I was very much looking at the best and cost-effective and time-effective way to do this.
Yeah, I reckon check out influencer agencies. I think in terms of the time, that would definitely be one of the things you could do. And there's other tools like Social Blade. I know they mainly look at YouTube. But I imagine, and I don't know for sure, but I imagine there's other platforms out there that will also look at, other social media platforms so you can find those influencers. I think there's two things you're always going to invest, isn't there? It's either going to be your time or your money. You're either, like say, going to do the hashtags and the locations and all that kind of stuff to find these people, or you're going to go out to agencies and you're probably going to pay a bit of a premium because you're going to the agency rather than the influencer direct. But it might save you some time. So yeah, check out agencies, I'd say, in Social Blade, and also that founder course. Awesome stuff. Great question. Good to have you with us. Another MBE. We've got another one. It's Alison Edgar. We've now got Lorraine. We need a few more, and we've got a dozen. Say a few more. We need 10 more. Good maths. Right, we are just at 10 minutes before the end of the show. But Paul Apple Crumble.
We've not done a reset once, have we?
No,
what were you going to ask me?
I was going to ask you about the app.
Yeah.
Because we launched it last week.
Yeah.
You spent a lot of time, effort and energy getting version 2 done. Version 1, we had a lot of interest in the app. Thank you for everyone who supported us when we launched the first app. It didn't do what we wanted it to do. It didn't look how we wanted it to look. It didn't function the way we wanted it to function. So Sir Apple Crumble was working with that particular team and quickly discerned that team were not going to now and or ever deliver us what we wanted or needed. So he decided to do the only thing that he could do, and that's build his own app. So that's exactly what's happened. So version 2 of the Winners Club app is doing it a disservice to call it version 2 of the app, because it's basically a completely different app. Tell us about the app, because we've not spoken about it very much.
What a learning curve that was, though.
Good learning curve, though.
3
right?
months of my life.
Enjoyable, though, right?
Yeah.
Enjoyed it? Yeah, sure.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't say I necessarily enjoyed it.
Building it or before building it? Did you enjoy it?
The whole app journey actually has been from the first time round. Well, it's like anything, isn't it? The idea was great. Launching the app the first time round was a great idea. It soon became a realization that, hold on a minute, this is a complete shit show. Yep. Sworn twice this morning. And we're attached to it, and it's got to be fixed. And you're working with so there's the first part of it, which is trying to resolve the situation with a company that think they're doing everything right and actually are doing everything wrong. So what did we go on a two month journey of trying to educate them on their mistakes to fall against deaf ears, literally fall against deaf ears, and then the person that's responsible runs away into the hills and buries their head in the sand, which is always not what to do when you're a leader. Run away and ignore everybody. Great. So once we realise, hold on a minute, we've got to do something ourselves, then yes, you go into, right, how do we build it a second time? But that proves the point of what we were saying about single point of failure. We were reliant on somebody else, and our destiny was completely controlled by somebody else having control of the keys, having control of what was going on inside that app. Nobody could make an update. Whereas now we've just got the control back. So we've built it in a way. We're still reliant on somebody else's tech and somebody else's platform, but we've got the control of We've got the control ourselves. So if we want to make an update, I can go in now, make an update or make a change. Or if somebody's got a user access problem, it can be resolved immediately without having to rely on a third party that's run away and buried their head in the sand. Still trying to dig deeper down into the sand. Keep going. Eventually you reach Australia.
Yeah. If you dig for long enough, you end up on the other side of the planet. I think that's their theory. Good theory. Don't think it's ever going to pan out for them.
I hope people pull their heads out of this thing.
Yeah. So it's version 2 of the app, or a completely new app, is up, and great content in there. I'm already badgering you guys. Come on, we got to put more content in. We got to put more content in. So our commitment is every week we'll be finding ways to get new content into that app.
And as part of the app, it's really, really cool, actually. I've got to say, hats off to what you've built here, because it's nothing short of spectacular. It's one of the best.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I would. This is part of the sales. Always educated.
The thing is, I think it's very good. Is it very good, or did we have something very poor?
We just had a low starting point.
Solid sales pitch here, fellas. Solid sales pitch for the app.
Well,
Christ on a bike.
Let everyone else be the judge. Go download it.
There you go.
No, so I'm
download it so you can.
I'm building out the back end of a membership site on the website as well. So the app, so the credentials used to the app will log into the back end of a website, which will have the same content on it, so you can view it from a web page over the next coming weeks, as opposed to the app, same as the app as well. And you guys know, there's loads and loads of features we've got on the roadmap that we're going to pull out and develop into that.
Already within the app. So if you go and download it, you can download it for free, by the way. And there's premium functionality built within it if you want to listen to replays.
I'm not going to lie, we don't give you a lot for free because we're sitting here poor and making no money out of what we're doing. So therefore, we don't give you a lot for free, but you can download it.
You can go and download it for free. There is the community feed in there, which has been it was really interesting. We kind of had a conversation once with Clubhouse. We told them everything that we had been up to and what we'd built, and then all of a sudden, everything that we'd built has suddenly started appearing in Clubhouse. We're like, oh sure, let's have more of those conversations. Have our hoodies turned up yet?
No.
Ironic. So they've ripped off our ideas in exchange for a hoodie, which we've never received.
Had.
There you go. Anyway, so you could go onto the app, like I said, within the premium area, which Paul made me sign into and pay full price. I've signed up for a year. Yes. And you as well? Yeah, fantastic.
But that was before I discovered how to provision access, which I've now worked out, by the way. But I'm not giving you a refund. No, I'm not giving you a refund.
Right. But within the premium part of the app, there is Listen Again. So the whole reason the app even became a concept in the first place is about 6 months ago, before version 1 was even created. This was before EMC, wasn't it? The feedback we kept getting, we were doing sort of regular, sort of bi-monthly town halls. And the feedback kept coming up. We'd love to listen again. We'd love to listen again. We'd love to listen again. Now, obviously, this was before there was room recording that was available as a functionality. And people wanted to be able to listen when they weren't on the app, if that makes sense. So we'd created a podcast already, but then the podcast was pretty much predominantly for just the interview-based content, because, rather than the sort of the chit-chat kind of stuff as well. But people were like, I'd love to listen again. We'd have people like Tom Breeze or James Sinclair or Jess and James or various other sort of experts and speakers. Sharon, who was the co-author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. We have these amazing people in, and people are like, I'd love to listen to that again. So that's the whole remit and the whole concept of the app the first time around, was literally to give listen again functionality. And it turns out that when you're creating 2.5 hours of audio every single day, it's actually quite difficult to do listen again functionality without actually building in quite a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So as part of the premium access, you can listen to any of the Clubhouse rooms that we've done in the last couple of months are there as listen again. So if you wanted to, as I mentioned before, we were talking about earlier this morning, weren't we, with the sort of the YouTube $5 a day advice that Tom Breeze gave about 6 weeks ago, I think it was. That episode is on the listen again functionality. There's bonus content on there. There's a feed. You can listen live. There's video content. Every recording of EMC 2020 and 2021. All of those recordings are in the app. Behind the scenes of our little mini documentary of bringing Tim's story over to the UK, that's in the app. Then there's a masterclass. We've done some masterclass as well. So Start and Scale masterclass with Paul. There's a podcast basics masterclass in there that I've recorded. So there's lots of bespoke content in there.
The other point to note, while you mentioned masterclasses on the roadmap, which is a big one, is we're building a video studio here in our studio downstairs that experts and people are going to come into to create content specifically that goes into the app.
Yes.
So that video section is going to grow and grow and grow with content that we feel is relevant to business owners and entrepreneurs at all stages of their journey. So our job is to go out and find the experts to then give you the content, and that content's going to go inside the app. So we've got the ability now to do that. And the reason it didn't grow as quickly as we wanted on the first one is because it was like just to upload an app was almost upload a video was almost impossible.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's a very easy process.
Absolutely.
So the only thing that's restricting it is us actually creating the content.
You can already
note to self, go and create the content.
Listen again and watch again to Levi Roots, who was on a couple of weeks ago, the guy who created
and the radio player
source, and the radio player as well. Marcus Murphy, NED board executive at LinkedIn. There's the video of James Sinclair when he was in the studio. Jess and James, Lewis Alsop, biggest real estate company in Dubai. Daniel Gray, War Paint for Men. There's videos of that all in there. The EMC recordings. There's loads of cool stuff in there. So go and check it out. The link is at the top of the room right now. And as I say, you can download the app for free on Apple and Google Play. And then if you want
the links to Apple actually, but if you want the Google one, just search Winners Club in Google Store and you'll find it.
And as Paul mentioned, there's also on there's a listen live button, because again, people were saying, I would love to listen. It's great that you do the rooms in the morning, but I can't always tune in. I'm not always on the app. So there's actually a live radio player. So you can actually click on listen live, and there is a looping content that we have put onto the radio player as well. So you can go and download all of that stuff. Go and marvel in the beauty of what Paul Applecrumble has spent about 6 weeks creating. Much better than version 1 though, isn't it? Like night and day. Shout out to the team who did version 1 for us. Thanks for giving us the impetus to need to make version 2 ourselves. Right.
I just downloaded it and 5-starred it.
Fantastic.
You're a star.
But what an example of how
Thank
not
you,
to
mate.
run a business the first time round. Like, they're a company that provide apps. Their job is to build apps, and they build that.
Yes.
Right.
Leave it there. There's a few people flashing who I think might have had the same experience. If you are looking for an app developer, please go to paultheappman.com, which is a URL that does not exist.
Or just go to Paul Many Hats, and then you click the link that you want. So whether that's crypto, scale up, being miserable, making apps, like there's a lot of services.
Anything.
Tech,
small chartered flights. Don't have a warm protein shake before you go on that plane. You will be sick.
Your gym and swimming pool closes down due to lockdown. You've got it all at Paul's. So I don't know what the membership pass is, but
by the way, Chris from the Mastermind wants us to go and see him. So can we fly up there? I feel like I need to. You know when you've like fallen off. Jen will know this. When you've fallen off the horse, you've got to get back on it quick. I've got that with the plane thing.
Yeah, but what the plane I took you in last time was like, that was a bad experience for you, because then that
at every level,
that plane shouldn't have done the distance of that journey that we done. That was not for that. That was for like 30-minute, an hour flying lesson. That's fine for that. It wasn't a cruiser. We'll make sure we hire the right plane next time.
Okay.
It was only the one I wanted wasn't available, so we just ended up with that. But that wasn't the best. It's a bit like driving to the Lake District in a 1970s Ford Fiesta.
Okay. Not an enjoyable experience.
It's not going to be pleasant
for purpose. Not fit for purpose at all. Right, well, we are done and dusted, gang. It is 9 o'clock here in the United Kingdom. Thank you for being here, as always, this week. If you're part of the Fortitude Mastermind, big shout out to everyone who was part of Fortitude. It's a great first intake of Fortitude. Absolutely love that. That was for me. It was the highlight of my professional week, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you to all you guys for being in the room. We've had lots of great content, lots of great contributions. As always, we'll be back Monday morning 6:30 a.m. for more.
Support our podcast as well, please.
Oh yeah, the iTunes Top 10 Investment Podcast.
Yeah, support that one.
Yeah, go and check that out. Understanding Crypto. If you are confused by the world of cryptocurrency, if the world of Web3 is a bit confusing, then me and Paul have launched Orphonic Media. It's our first sort of branded podcast. We've launched, Understanding Crypto, which is basically two genuine idiots having a chat about the world of crypto and what it means in your business right
I'm
here,
not on
right
it.
now.
You said
That's a bit strong.
You said genuine idiots. It's only because we get told by Paul most days. Like, I'm not on it. So.
One man, 1.5 intellects around crypto.
You're the one, Paul's the half.
Yeah, standard. But yeah, go check that out. It is, if you're looking for it, by the way, if you just click onto the podcast app, just go to the charts, you'll find it in there. just click charts wherever you download your podcast. Just click charts. It's just there, guys. Just in the top half of the charts. Don't even worry about it, Cash. 148th podcast, you say, still works. The system still works. I'll tell you what, if the algorithm ever changes, I'm screwed because I only know one way to do this. And if it ain't broke, I ain't fixing it. 148, still 90% of them end up at the iTunes top charts. Bosh! Great end to the week. Go check out our podcast. See you on Monday. We'll be back 6:30 a.m. Have a lovely weekend, whatever you get up to. And if you can't be anything else, just be nice to each other. Goodbye.